Warrior Lore. Chapter 2775. TSK. Stubborn resistance in the end. You can't escape fate. Shiyu laughed sinisterly. Her 8 snake heads shook the air and suddenly struck the lightning around Du Xiaoba and the others. After a loud boom, the lightning instantly shattered and exploded. Amidst the energy, 4 figures were directly thrown out. Under the attack of a true Severing Realm expert, Ouyang Shuang, Du Xiaolin, and the others were completely powerless to resist. Blood arrows shot out from each of their mouths, piercing through the void. However, it was obvious that Shiyu wanted to capture all 4 of them, so she did not use her full strength and only injured the 4 of them. Under such circumstances, Du Xiaoba and the others quickly moved in the direction of their bodies and shot into the distance. They wanted to use the force of their charge to continue escaping. Seeing such a scene, how could Lion Hung let them leave? Humph, do you think I'll let you run away? When these words came out of Lion Heng's mouth, the scorpion tail below his waist suddenly rose into the air and directly cut towards Ouyang Shuang like a pair of scissors. Chi. Waves of black gas were emitted from the scorpion tail and filled the air. Ouyang Shuang and the others, who were charging forward, staggered. Their bodies swayed and they were about to fall. This black gas contained a terrifying soul technique that affected their souls. This human woman is the most useless. Just kill her so that she won't get in the way. Lion Heng's eyes stared at Ouyang Shuang. The scorpion tail broke through the void and instantly appeared behind her back. From an extremely tricky and sinister angle, it suddenly stung. Mother Shuang! Mother! Aunt Shuang! Du Xiaoba and the other 2 shouted one after another. The 3 little fellows did not doubt the power of the scorpion tail of the primordial scorpion lion. If she was really hit by it, Ouyang Shuang's life would definitely be in danger. It seemed that Lion Hong had completely stirred up his killing intent. Get out of my way. Du Xiaoba was the first to move. His small body soared into the air as the thunder martial vein rushed out. He used the true meaning of the rock and instantly rushed towards Ouyang Shuang's position. At the same time, Du Xiaoba and Du Xiaohuang didn't fall behind and charged towards the scorpion tail. Little Ba, Little Huang, Little Lin, don't worry about me. Run. Ouyang Shuang immediately cried out. Her beautiful face was filled with deep worry. She was so shocked that she wanted to die. She was shocked by the attack of the primordial scorpion lion race's true severing expert. In this case, she only had one thought in her mind, and that was to let Du Xiaoba, Du Xiaohuang, and Du Xiaolin run away quickly. If they resisted forcefully, the result was not difficult to foresee. TSK. You 3 little fellows, why are you doing this? All your resistance is futile. The corners of Shi Heng's mouth curled into a sneer as he watched the scene unfold. His eyes carried an ominous glint, and his scorpion tail did not stop its attack. It continued to stab straight at Ouyang Shuang without dodging or evading. With his strength, even if Du Xiaoba and the other 2 little fellows unleashed their speed to the extreme, he still easily broke through their blockade and directly arrived behind Ouyang Shuang. Go to hell! Shi Heng shouted. The tip of his scorpion tail was suffused with a cold, pitch-black light. The scorpion tail was like a pair of scissors. It carried a terrifying power and released a terrifying power of the law of the soul as it stabbed towards Ouyang Shuang. Du Xiaoba, Du Xiaolin, and Du Xiaohuang's eyes were about to pop out of their sockets. The 3 little hearts were all in their throats. If they could not stop him, Ouyang Shuang would definitely not survive. Old bastard, get out of my way. It was also at this moment that Du Xiaoba finally rushed to the vicinity of Shi Heng's scorpion tail with the speed of the great rock. Without even thinking, he directly waved a fist that shone with golden light and brazenly smashed down. Unparalleled power erupted from his small body, causing Du Xiaoba to look like a real golden-winged rock, strong and bold. It was also a punch like this that shook the void, causing the surrounding space to continuously collapse on a large scale. The scene was terrifying. However, when such a terrifying punch smashed onto Shi Heng's scorpion tail, it produced a loud clang. It was like the sound of a heavenly bell, resounding through the 9 heavens and 10 earths and shaking the universe. Clang clang. Two consecutive metallic sounds rang out. Du Xiaolin and Du Xiaolin's attacks also landed, attacking the scorpion tail of the primordial manticore. However, the result was exactly the same as before. With their cultivation, they were completely unable to shake it. It was as if they were forging iron. Humph, you overestimate yourself. Shiheng snorted softly. The scorpion tail did not move. After indifferently glancing at the three little fellows, it suddenly stabbed down again. This time, nothing unexpected happened, and it directly pierced into Ouyang Shuang's body. Mother Shuang. Mother. No. Du Xiaoba and the other two were shocked and lost their voices. Under their gazes, a bolt of lightning rushed out of Ouyang Shuang's body, but it was instantly broken by the scorpion tail of the primordial manticore. The scissors, which were suffused with a metallic luster, directly attacked her from behind and pierced her lower abdomen. At this moment, Du Xiaoba, Du Xiaolin, and Du Xiaohuang felt as if time had stopped, and their heartbeats were about to slow down. They saw that the moment the scorpion tail pierced into her body, a black aura instantly suffused Ouyang Shuang's delicate and beautiful face. Following that, her entire aura also rapidly weakened and soon fell to the extreme. Her originally lively eyes instantly darkened. Under the unique soul method of the primordial manticore race, Ouyang Shuang's primordial spirit suffered an unimaginable injury. She quickly lost consciousness and fell from the void. Mother. Du Xiaolin caught his mother's body and muttered. Tears rolled down his large eyes, and his face was ashen. Mother Shuang. Du Xiaohuang's tender little face was deathly pale as she looked at the scene over there in disbelief. Du Xiaoba's lips trembled. A wave of anger quickly rose and instantly surged to the top of his head. Ah, old man, you dare to hurt my Aunt Shuang. I want you to pay with your life. Du Xiaoba let out a hoarse roar from his mouth. His small body rushed out of the void and suddenly attacked, pouncing straight at Lion Hung. At the same time, Du Xiaolin and Du Xiaohuang were unwilling to fall behind and followed suit. At this moment, there was only endless killing intent in the hearts of the three little fellows. They did not care if their strength could compete with that terrifying true severing expert. At this moment, what they wanted to do was to tear this primordial manticore race expert into pieces. TSK. Little fellows, do you still want to resist? As Lion Hung sneered, he suddenly opened his lion mouth and let out a loud roar. Chapter 2776. The terrifying lion's roar shattered the void. Space was crushed into fine powder by this huge roar. Like surging waves, it created ripples that struck Du Xiaoba and the other two little fellows. Under the impact of this terrifying force, a wide passage was torn open in the distant seawater, leading straight to the surface. The three figures were like a small boat in a monstrous wave. Their bodies were completely out of their control and were quickly thrown away. At the same time, each of them let out a muffled groan. Their auras instantly withered, and they were listless as they flew out one after another. I've said it before. How good would it be if you just obediently came back with us? Why would you need to suffer such physical pain? Shiyu sneered. He led many experts from the Yamada no Orochi clan up into the sky and chased after the four people who had been thrown away. The experts of the primordial scorpion lion race also moved. They were all sneering in their hearts. At the same time, they were also filled with endless joy. With the strength of those few humans, how could they escape from their clutches? This time, they were no longer able to resist. As long as they could capture those three little fellows, it would be a gift from the heavens to their two clans. How could they not be excited? You can't run away anymore. As Shiyu spoke, 8 rays of light of different colors shot out from the 8 snake heads. They swept toward Ouyang Shuang, Du Xiaoba, Du Xiaolin, and Du Xiaohuang. This time, if there were no accidents, the 4 of them could only face the fate of being prisoners. The 8 rays of light stretched out in the void like 8 ribbons. They intertwined and formed a tight cage, imprisoning the 4 figures. Under Shiyu's control, the cage was pulled and flew quickly to his side. At the sight of this, all the experts from the Yamada no Orochi clan and the primeval Chimera clan had greedy looks in their eyes. A little Chelan, a supreme ant phoenix, and a human with the bloodline of the golden-winged roc. Perhaps they were nothing to the most powerful clans, but to these two clans, they were treasures. Every one of them was extremely excited, hoping that they could quickly divide it up. However, just as the experts of the two clans were feeling excited, the void in front of them suddenly trembled violently. Following that, a bright light burst out. It was as if a vast sun had suddenly appeared, illuminating the world. Even the depths of the deep sea were illuminated by the light. What a powerful light! The experts of the Chimera Lion and Yamata no Orochi covered their eyes with their hands, but it was too late. They felt a piercing pain in their eyes, as if they were about to go blind. Those with weaker cultivations had blood dripping from the corners of their eyes. I can't see anything. How could this be? What happened? Ah, my eyes hurt. I'm going blind. Those below the truth-severing stage all began to cry out in pain at this moment. Everyone's eyes could only see a patch of scarlet red. There was a scalding sensation, as if they had been burned through. Such a scene caused them to be extremely shocked. However, they did not know what had happened. They were only incomparably shocked. At the same time, the 8 streaks of light released by Shiyu were cut in half. The figures of Ouyang Shuang and the other 3 were swept away by the powerful light in the void. An expert has arrived. Shiyu, Shihong, and several other truth-severing stage experts instantly realized the cause of the matter. Their expressions could not help but darken, becoming incomparably sinister. Just as the few of them sensed all this, the strong light in the void suddenly disappeared, and everything disappeared. At this moment, a slender figure stood in the void. Her body was wrapped in a hazy light, and her true appearance could not be seen clearly. However, from that figure, one could faintly determine that it was a woman. Her body was tall and slender, and her curves were graceful. Ah, I'm blind. Ah, save me. Among the two clans, those below the truth-severing stage were all rolling in the void. Under the eruption of a powerful aura, the void was crushed into pieces. At this moment, only 4 people were still standing safe and sound. The primordial scorpion lion and the 8-headed serpent were 2 truth-severing stage experts respectively. They did not suffer too much damage from that powerful light. Faced with the cries of pain from the many clansmen around them, they did not have the mind to pay attention to it. The 4 of them were all on guard as they looked at the tall figure opposite them, as if they were facing a great enemy. To be able to save the little Chelan and the other 3 from Shiyu's hands, needless to say, that person was definitely a person with an exceedingly high cultivation. Who are you? Why are you interfering in the affairs of the primordial scorpion lion and the 8-headed serpent clan? Shiheng's voice was gloomy as he asked coldly. They had already inquired about it. The little Chelan and the other 3 came from a small world. Logically speaking, they should not have any old friends in the 33 heavens. Even if there were, how strong could someone from a small world be? What they needed were the 2 powerful clans, the supremacy of the Chelan clan and the Ant Phoenix clan. However, in the Qian Su Jinghua heaven, they were absolutely fearless. They were not afraid of those 2 clans coming to their door at all. Most importantly, the aura emanating from the woman opposite them did not seem to belong to the experts of those 2 clans. If you leave now, I won't haggle over today's matter with you. In the future, someone will come to settle all of this with your 2 clans. Faced with Shiheng's question, the woman opened her mouth to respond unhurriedly. Her voice sounded exceptionally soft and pleasant, with an indifferent and otherworldly feeling, as if it was a fairy from the 9th heaven who was softly speaking. However, the meaning in her words was inexplicably overbearing. She actually asked the 2 clans to leave immediately. Moreover, she even said that someone would seek revenge on the primordial scorpion lion and the 8-headed serpent clan in the future. Your Excellency is really arrogant. Shiyu's 8 heads turned back into human form. 8 pairs of eyes rose with a gloomy and cold intent at the same time. Looking at the hazy figure of the woman opposite him, he was incomparably furious. However, he did not dare to directly flare up because he did not know the background of the person opposite him. I've already given you a piece of advice. If you really want to fight, I don't mind accompanying you. The woman's voice was still as light as the wind and clouds, and no one could tell whether she was happy or angry. She merely turned around indifferently and looked at Shiyu as she spoke. Being stared at by the gaze behind the light, Shiyu's body unconsciously trembled. He could sense that the woman's cultivation was definitely above his own. Where did you come from? I'll also give you a piece of advice. Don't interfere in the affairs of our two clans. As long as you let go of those three little fellows, you can take that woman away. Otherwise, no matter how profound your cultivation is, the primordial scorpion lion and the eight-headed serpent clan will definitely not let you off so easily. Hearing the woman's words, Shi Hong was also enraged. He immediately took a step forward and raised his voice. He was not too afraid. Although the other party's cultivation was probably above the four of them, it should not be by much. So what if she was an immortal realm expert? There were quite a few immortal realm experts in their two clans. If they failed to capture the little Qilin and the others, those immortal realm ancestors in their clans would probably be willing to come out personally. Even if this woman had 3 heads and 6 arms, she would not be able to deal with the pressure of the two clans' experts. I must take them away. If you don't want to, you can just snatch them away. There's no need to talk nonsense. The woman's voice was soft as she spoke indifferently. Humph, you really don't know what's good for you. Since you insist on interfering, then don't blame us for being rude. Shiyu's voice was cold. As he spoke, waves of powerful aura surged from his body. The fluctuations spread wildly in the void. I know you're very strong, but we'd like to see if you have the ability to resist the 4 of us working together. Shi Heng's figure also pounced toward the woman in the light. Attack! Attack together! The other primordial scorpion lion clan's true severance stage expert roared. Waves of invisible fluctuations erupted from his body, affecting the invisible rules of order as he attacked the mysterious woman. Within the fluctuations, there was an extremely powerful soul attack that could pierce the primordial spirit of living beings. Anyone who was not strong enough would have their spirit wiped out and die an unnatural death under this attack. Kill. The other true severing elite of the Yamatono Orochi clan also moved. His 8 heads transformed into 8 huge snake heads, dancing wildly in the void. The scene was similar to that of Snake-Yu, all of them emitting 8 different colors as they attacked ferociously. Take her to one side and wait. Leave this to me. Facing the 4 experts' attacks, the woman was not in a hurry to make a move. She only turned her head and said to Du Xiaoba, Du Xiaolin, and Du Xiaohuang beside her. Then, with a gentle wave of her slender arm, the 4 of them were sent flying by a gentle force and landed far away. Thank you, Annie. Du Xiaolin thanked her crisply, his big eyes blinking a few times. During the short conversation between the two sides, the woman had been channeling celestial qi into their bodies, causing the 3 little fellows' complexions to recover a lot. They took the unconscious Ouyang Shuang and retreated far away, quietly watching. Under their shocked gazes, the experts of the primordial scorpion lion and the Yamata no Orochi clan joined forces and broke through the void. However, the woman just stood in the void calmly, not moving at all, and waved her hands casually. The Yamata no Orochi clan and the primordial scorpion lion clan both had their own innate magical powers. For the Yamata no Orochi clan, they were born to be extremely compatible with the law of matter. As their cultivation deepened, they could gradually comprehend the law of matter. Their 8 heads represented the derivative forms of the 8 matter laws. Once they reached the immortal realm, they could fuse all the matter laws into one. At that time, the 8 heads would fuse into one, and they wouldn't be any different from a real human. That state was the ultimate cultivation state of the Yamata no Orochi clan's experts, and it was the state that everyone in that clan wanted to reach. The primordial scorpion lion clan, on the other hand, had an innate talent for the soul, and was extremely terrifying in the path of the law of soul. When their cultivation was low, the scorpion tails behind them contained a terrifying poison that could seep into the soul of a living being. Once one was stung by the scorpion tails of a member of this clan, if they were not treated in time, they would become a living dead, leaving behind only a soulless shell. And as their cultivations grew stronger, their attainments in the law of the soul became even more frightening. For example, the two true severing experts present, when faced with someone weaker than them, as long as they were stung by the scorpion tails, their bodies would be controlled directly, and they would become puppets that could be controlled at will. However, when Lion Hung attacked Ouyang Shuang earlier, he only had the intention of killing her, so he did not take over her body. Rumble. Buzz, buzz, buzz. Under the joint attack of these four experts, it was extremely terrifying. The two Yamada no Orochi clan's experts spat out beams of dazzling light from their snake heads, striking out terrifying black holes in the void. The two primordial scorpion lions roared continuously, and under the terrifying lion roars, the space collapsed one after another. At the same time, the scorpion tails that were as black as metal stabbed downwards, heading straight for the unmoving woman who was standing in the air. Such terrifying attacks came one after another, but the woman did not make any moves that were too intense. She waved her arm gently, and as rays of light exploded in the air, the attacks of the four experts were defeated one by one, and they dissipated into nothingness. Kill. Shiyu and the others all shouted, and their bodies were filled with murderous intent. Annihilation of the void. Brilliant thousand worlds. The woman suddenly blurted out these words in the face of the relentless onslaught. Then, all 10 of her fingers danced in the air. Miraculous trajectories formed on her fingertips and emitted a majestic rhythm. Then, a vortex suddenly appeared between her hands, spinning wildly and swallowing everything. The surrounding light was instantly distorted and swallowed by the vortex. Suddenly, it was as if the night had suddenly fallen, and the light was no longer there. Only the light of the vortex became more and more resplendent, and a huge light appeared, so blinding that it was difficult to open one's eyes. The terrifying light of this ball of light was all-pervasive, and it directly attacked the eyes of the four true Severing Realm experts. Not good. Retreat quickly. The four of them instantly realized that something was wrong. They only felt a stabbing pain in their eyes, and after shouting loudly, they wanted to retreat and hide far, far away. However, just as they moved, the ball of light exploded with a bang. Swoosh! The bright light was like a sharp blade that cut through everything in its path. Its speed was extremely fast, and there was no way to dodge it all. In an instant, it pierced into the bodies of the four experts. The bodies of the four experts were torn apart like cloth, and long, slender holes appeared, and light emitted from them. Ah! The four of them screamed, and they were in extreme pain. Fortunately, the light only lasted for an instant before quickly dissipating. Otherwise, the four of them would have been killed instantly. Even so, when the light between heaven and earth recovered, they had already suffered unprecedented injuries. Whether it was the two true Severing Realm experts of the Yamato no Orochi clan, or the two from the primordial Scorpion Lion clan, their bodies were all split open, and their primordial spirits were cut open. At this time, they could only barely maintain themselves standing in the void, but they had lost all strength to resist, and the hundreds of experts of the two clans who were traveling with them were torn into pieces by the light, and not even their bones were left. Immortal Realm expert. This is definitely an Immortal Realm expert. Lion Heng's lips trembled as he muttered. How could he not understand that the woman was definitely an Immortal Realm expert? Otherwise, when they faced an ordinary true Severing Realm expert, they definitely would not be so powerless. Where did this Immortal Realm expert come from to actually attack us? She was also extremely flustered, and even her words were stuttering. At this time, the other two true Severing Realm experts also realized the seriousness of the matter. They could not understand that the woman who had suddenly appeared was actually an Immortal Realm expert. Their attacks in front of her were like children playing around, and she did not take them seriously at all. What is her identity? She actually attacked us because of those people from the small world. Another expert of the Yamato no Orochi clan spoke up. He kept thinking and guessing in his heart, wanting to know the woman's identity. The law of light. Could it be that she is that? Shiyu suddenly seemed to have thought of something, and her expression changed drastically, becoming pale as a sheet. She, she, she is that goddess? After Shiyu's reminder, the rest of the people instantly came to a realization, as if they had been enlightened. At the mention of the two words goddess, everyone's faces could not help but tremble, and they trembled with fear. Goddess, your excellency, we have offended you, so please forgive us and let us leave. Hung did not dare to speak nonsense. If they had known that she was an immortal realm expert, or that she was the legendary goddess, they would not have dared to challenge her even if they were given 3 times the courage. Even though there were also immortal realm experts in their clan, none of them were present at this time. What was the difference between baring their fangs and brandishing their claws in front of this goddess? Goddess, we have eyes but failed to recognize Mount Tai, and offended you. Please let us live, Your Excellency. We will definitely make our clan compensate you in the future. She was extremely shocked, and her mind was racing as she thought about how to escape. Whether she was willing or not, she had to find a way to stay alive first. As for the future, she could not care less now. I have already given you a chance, but you did not know how to cherish it. In the face of their pleas, the woman still spoke indifferently, and her tone was very gentle. Then, her hands began to move in the void again, and a vast pressure descended, suppressing the primordial spirits of the 4 people, causing them to want to crawl and kneel. Since I have already made my move, then let's finish it. You have offended his people, and he should have dealt with you personally. I hope he won't blame me for meddling in other people's business in the future. The woman spoke in a voice that only she could hear, and she seemed to be a little resentful. Her hands did not stop moving at all. As numerous trajectories were drawn between his fingers, the profound true meaning of order was constructed in space, and it emanated an aura that shook the heavens and the earth. It caused the sky to explode and the sea beneath his feet to roil. Chapter 2777. The laws of the world were triggered, and the void trembled. A vast pressure was released, causing the 4 true, severing experts of the primordial Chimera Lion and the Yamatenoroki clan to tremble all over. Under this pressure, in addition to the heavy injuries they had suffered, they did not even have the strength to stand at this time, and directly fell from the sky. However, before they could truly land, they saw 4 pillars of light shoot out from the woman's body. Like sharp swords that could kill the heavens and earth, they pierced through the void and attacked the 4 of them. Puff, 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 puff. For muffled sounds rang out in succession as the 4 light swords pierced through the 4 figures without any hindrance. Vigorous energy erupted and sucked out all the life force in their bodies, causing them to fall to the surface of the sea below like 4 dead fish. After smashing into a few small waves, there was no longer any sound coming out. High up in the sky, after the woman shrouded in light casually killed the 4 of them, she was still as indifferent as before. However, she stood high in the sky and did not move for a long time. It was as if she had fallen into some sort of thought and thought of something that made her intoxicated. After a long time, she finally let out a long sigh that carried endless helplessness. The 4 of them have come to the 33 heavens. You must have come as well. The woman gracefully turned around and cast her gaze towards the little Qilin, Du Xiaoba, Du Xiaolin, and the unconscious Ouyang Shuang in the distance. Thank you, Auntie, for saving us. At this time, the 3 little fellows also brought Ouyang Shuang in front of the woman. Towards this woman who had suddenly appeared and unhesitatingly saved them, the 3 little fellows felt endless gratitude in their hearts. Saving you guys was just a small matter. The woman smiled softly and said to the 3 little fellows, Auntie, I keep having the feeling that I know you. Have we met somewhere before? Suddenly, Du Xiaoba raised his head, rubbed the back of his head, and asked. He kept having the feeling that the woman in front of him was somewhat familiar. However, because her entire body was covered in light, Du Xiaoba was unable to see her face, so he was unable to confirm her identity. We don't know each other. The woman was stunned for a moment before she denied it. Behind the light, the woman had a face that could topple the world. Her body was curvy and exquisite. However, behind her head, there was a head of snow-white hair that made her look holy and ethereal. She was incomparably otherworldly. At this moment, A trace of panic flashed across her beautiful face, but it disappeared in the blink of an eye. However, she unconsciously looked at Ouyang, who was in Du Xiaohuang's arms, and a bitter smile and helplessness once again appeared on her delicate face. Her expression was extremely complicated. I see. Du Xiaoba kept scratching his head and said suspiciously. Although he didn't believe the woman's words, it wasn't appropriate for him to make a rude request of seeing her true appearance, so he could only give up and stop asking. Previously, when the woman was fighting with the experts of the Chimera Lion and the Yamata no Orochi, Du Xiaoba and the others had heard the two words goddess, and he firmly remembered this name in his heart. Perhaps this was the only way to find out his identity. He had to tell Uncle Xiaofu about this life-saving grace in the future. Auntie, can you save my mother? Du Xiaolin stepped on lightning and came in front of the woman. After a flash of lightning, he turned into a 4 or 5-year-old boy. He looked like a porcelain doll. He blinked his big eyes, and with deep worry, he looked hopefully at the woman and said, Ouyang Shuang was hit by the scorpion tail of the expert of the Chimera Lion clan and was severely injured. She was unconscious. With the cultivation of these little fellows, it was difficult for them to even peek at her current state, let alone save her. One had to know that the Chimera Lion clan's talent in the Law of Souls was too terrifying. At this time, Ouyang Shuang had lost all consciousness. The little Qilin couldn't help but worry about the safety of his mother. He could only place his hopes on this mysterious woman. You are his child? The mysterious woman was stunned. After glancing at Ouyang Shuang, she unconsciously reached out a hand and stroked the little Qilin's head as if she was stroking her own child. She was extremely affectionate. Auntie, can you save my mother? At this time, Du Xiaohuang also walked in front of the woman with Ouyang Shuang in his arms and looked at her eagerly. You are also his child? The woman was even more stunned. After a moment, she said in an extremely low voice, I didn't expect that after not seeing you for so many years, you already have 2 children. Perhaps there should be more than 2. She looked at Ouyang Shuang with eyes that seemed to hide some envy. The woman's low voice couldn't be heard by Du Xiaoba and the others. They all looked at the woman with longing eyes, hoping that she had a way to save Ouyang Shuang and wake her up. Little fellow, don't be anxious. The woman thought for a moment and then smiled gently. She stroked the little Qilin's head and said, Your mother's primordial spirit has been severely injured. However, that Chimera Lion didn't seem to have used its full strength. It also didn't use its race's innate ability to take over your mother's body. However, her current situation is very bad. I've already sealed the Chimera Lion's soul poison, but I can't completely remove the poison from her primordial spirit. I can only temporarily delay her life and think of a way in the future. Hearing the woman's words, Du Xiaoba and the others didn't relax much. Auntie, is there any way to save my mother? The little Qilin looked up and asked. He was very worried. If the poison in his mother's body couldn't be suppressed, then her life would really be in danger. I don't have any good ideas for now. After all, the Chimera Lion's soul poison is too terrifying. But don't worry, I've already suppressed it. As long as there's no external trigger, she'll be fine. If we can find a treasure in the future, or if an expert in the law of the soul intervenes, it shouldn't be difficult to wake her up. The woman continued. With her cultivation, it wasn't difficult for her to completely suppress the Chimera Lion's soul poison. Is that so? Thank you, Auntie. As the oldest of the 3 little fellows, Du Xiaoba bowed to the woman and thanked her with great sincerity. Are you all here alone? The woman thought for a moment and asked. We came from a small world because we were ambushed by an enemy. In order to let us escape, my father lured them away by himself. Later, when we were passing through the cracks between worlds, we were ambushed by some shameless people again. Sister Xingxing and Uncle Xiaoyao were also separated from us. Du Xiaohuang's large eyes were filled with worry as she spoke in a low mood. It was precisely because of this series of accidents that after the 7 of them left Shenwu world, only the 4 of them with the weakest cultivation were left. They were almost killed by the Chimera Lion and Yamatanoroki clans. They didn't know how their father, Sister Xingxing, and Uncle Xiaoyao were doing. Come with me. We'll go to a safe place where there won't be any more accidents. In the future, I'll think of a way to find your family. Then, I'll let your family reunite." The woman patted Du Xiaolin's head again and said softly, "Okay." The three little fellows nodded obediently. After that, they didn't delay any longer and directly turned around and left. They tore through space and vanished from this vast expanse of sea, and they only left behind violent gales that covered the sky and roared without end. Every world in the 33 heavens was separated by an endless world barrier. If one were to rely on human strength to pass through, it would take a long time for an ordinary immortal level expert to reach the other world. Unless one's cultivation base could break through the meditative forgetfulness realm, forgetting heaven and earth, and the entire boundless world could be reached in an instant. Under such circumstances, the use of wormholes was extremely important. Experts could use their supreme cultivation base to carve the path of the great Tao and borrow the power of heaven and earth to greatly shorten the time needed to pass through the two worlds. Du Xiaofu's group traveled for nearly half a month, constantly passing through wormholes, and finally arrived at the Qian Su Jinghua heaven. On this day, a certain wormhole in this world shone brightly, and several hundred people walked out from it. The person who received them was an ordinary seasoned god-level middle-aged man. He was very inconspicuous. He was the scout sent by the Yu Qing divine nation to this world. After this middle-aged man's narration, Du Xiaofu's group of three finally had a better understanding of the current situation. "We can't determine where they are right now?" Du Xiaofu raised his eyebrows, and his heart was unusually heavy. The Qiansu Jinghua heaven was a bit special. The Yu Qing divine nation did not have too many people here. Their cultivations were also controlled below the truth-severing stage, so as to avoid being too big of a target and arousing the hostility of the creatures of this world. Because of this, after they got the news of Ouyang Shuang, the little Kailan and the others, they did not get any more information. They did not know where the four people who were being hunted were right now. This made Du Xiaofu very worried. After all, the four people's cultivation base was very weak when facing the experts of the primitive chimeras and the Yamada no Orochi. If they could not rescue them in time, no one knew what the final situation would be. Du Xiaofu did not dare to imagine it. "Since we don't know where they are, let's go to the nearest primitive chimeras first and wait for them. Presumably, those who are hunting them must have a way to contact their clan." Seeing Du Xiaofu's worry, Chu Daoju stepped forward, patted his shoulder, and said, "No matter whether Ouyang Shuang, Du Xiaoba, and the other three people had been captured by the two clans or not, there would absolutely be no problem waiting in those two clans." "That's right. If the primitive chimeras can't get the news, we can send a part of our people to the Yamada no Orochi clan. With both sides keeping a close eye on them, they won't be able to escape, right?" The middle-aged man called Ling Feng also opened his mouth and spoke with a hint of killing intent. Hearing this, Du Xiaofu nodded. This was the most feasible way at the moment, and he could not think of a better way to deal with it. As soon as they thought of it, they hurriedly stepped on the road again, heading for the primitive chimeras. After coming to the Qian Su Jinghua heaven, they moved much faster. In addition, the primitive chimeras were not far from the wormhole. After traveling for more than a day in the wormhole, they came to a mountain range. Here, the mountains were green, the valleys were green, and the forest was dense. Many towering trees rose from the ground, as if they wanted to hold up the sky. Faintly, they could hear a large number of beastly roars, which had a terrible power, reverberating in the forest. This is the Lion Ancestors Ridge where the primitive chimeras live. After appearing from the wormhole, the middle-aged man at the seizing god stage pointed at the ridge in front of him and said, "Against these weak but courageous beasts, we can just go straight to their door and kill them." Chu Daoji's eyes were filled with ferocious light. He flicked his sleeves lightly and said, "Let's go." Du Xiaofu waved his big hand, jumped into the air, and flew forward, plunging into the boundless forest. The rest of the people moved with him, not lagging behind at all, and quickly followed. These more than 200 people all released a tyrannical aura. They did not hide it at all, and directly rushed into the forest from the void. Soon, the beasts in the forest let out frightened howls. They were frightened by the aura of these experts. "Who are you? How dare you trespass into my lion ancestors' ridge? Tell me your name." The aura of Du Xiaofu and the others quickly alerted the experts in the forest. While they were still in the air, they heard a loud roar from below. Then, a figure rushed out and came in front of them. It was a humanoid creature with a scorpion tail. There was a mane around his face, which made him look like a human-shaped angry lion. Seizing God stage? I'm afraid you can't make the decision in Lion Ancestors Ridge. Hurry up and call out all the old men in your clan. Du Xiaofu said coldly. With a wave of his hand, he shot out a ray of lightning, which rushed toward the Seizing God stage expert. He did it casually, but the Seizing God stage expert was completely unable to dodge in time. He was hit by the lightning, and the mane on his head instantly stood up. He was violently sent flying by the huge force, and in an instant, he smashed into the forest below with a loud bang. The mountain rocks exploded, and debris flew everywhere. The movement instantly attracted the attention of the experts of the primal chimeras. There are experts in Lion Ancestors Ridge. They don't come with good intentions. Who are those people? They look very strong. That purple-robed young man is also very strong. Deacon Shirtong was sent flying with one move. Hurry up and inform the patriarch and the elders. I'm afraid these people will be very difficult to deal with. Many of the experts of the primal chimeras began to discuss. They were all shocked by the strength of the 200 people in the sky. These people came here with a murderous aura, and they clearly said that they wanted to meet the leader of the clan. If they were negligent, the consequences would be unimaginable. Without much hesitation, someone quickly flew into the depths of the forest to deliver the message. Let's go. We'll rush in directly. After Du Xiaofu repelled the Seizing God stage expert, he flew again, leading the 200 experts. After witnessing the strength of these people, no one dared to rashly stop them. Just the aura that they emitted was enough to make many people crawl on the ground and tremble in fear. May I know the purpose of your visit to the primal chimeras? I am the patriarch, Shi Huang. If there is anything you need, you can tell me directly. After a while, another loud voice rang out and entered the ears of Du Xiaofu and the others. The reaction of the primal chimeras could be said to be extremely fast. Before they had really entered the depths of the forest, there were already experts coming. This time, the one who appeared in front of them was an elder in the truth-severing realm. He vaguely had the demeanor of a leader of the clan. He was not as rash as the Seizing God stage expert. His cultivation was deeper, and his perception was sharper. The aura of these people in front of him was connected. Although they did not deliberately release their aura, it made it difficult for him to breathe. In the face of such a large group of experts, he did not dare to be careless at all. Even if he felt that the other party had ill intentions, he could not directly act out. After this elder appeared, more than 10 figures flew in one after another and came in front of Du Xiaofu and the others. The aura of each of them was very strong. They were all in the truth-severing realm. They probably had a high status in the primal chimeras. You're the patriarch of the primal chimeras? Du Xiaofu raised his eyebrows and asked the elder who had arrived first. Yes. Shi Huang nodded and said with certainty, You're the patriarch, and these people should be the elders of your clan. It's good that you've come out. Naturally, I have something to ask of you. Du Xiaofu's gaze swept across the scene one by one, looking at the more than 10 truth-severing experts, and said coldly. As he spoke, the aura of his body began to rise unconsciously, like a stormy sea, surging to the surroundings. Sir, what business do you have? Please state your purpose for coming. Shi Huang saw that the purple-robed youth was about to act out, and he immediately felt a little afraid. He was not afraid of Du Xiaofu, but of the more than 200 people behind him. He could not see through the strength of these experts, but he could feel that their cultivation was above his. If they were to fight because of a disagreement, his clan would not be able to gain much of an advantage, unless he alarmed the few elders in the clan who were in seclusion. Therefore, Shi Huang could only restrain his temper and ask with some patience. Of course I have to state my purpose for coming, but not now. I'd better take all of you down first, and then slowly interrogate you. Du Xiaofu snorted coldly, and his figure rose into the air, charging straight at Shi Huang. On his body, the light of thunder and fire soared into the sky, spreading out in the void, releasing a vast power. Attack! Take all those above the truth-severing realm. At the same time, Chu Daoju also shouted. With a wave of his hand, a ray of light swept out, enveloping the more than 10 experts of the primal chimeras. Behind him, several figures also moved at the same time. Under the explosion of their aura, the void rumbled, and large areas of space directly collapsed. The scene was extremely shocking. Since the primal chimeras were chasing after the little Qilin and the others, they were enemies. There was no need to be polite to them, and they could just attack directly. If he wanted to know the whereabouts of the 4 people, there was no need to waste his breath. After capturing them, there were plenty of methods to make them obediently tell the truth. Chapter 2778. Du Xiaofu and several other Immortal Realm experts attacked the dozen or so truth-severing realm experts. It was like using a butcher's knife to kill a chicken. Amidst the vast and mighty power, the heavens shattered and the earth cracked. The entire Lion Ancestors Ridge shook as if the end of the world had arrived. In the time it took to take a few breaths, all the experts of the primordial chimeras were captured. Powerful restrictions landed on their bodies, causing them to be unable to move at all. The experts of the primordial manticore tribe were all dumbfounded. They couldn't understand why those people had taken action and captured them before they knew the reason for the incident. Why did you come to the primordial chimeras to cause trouble? Clan leader Shi Huang was held in Du Xiaofu's hand and could not move. He could only ask in fear. He was also confused and had no idea what was going on with this group of people. Humph! Du Xiaofu snorted and did not answer his question directly. Instead, he asked, "Did your primordial chimeras join forces with the Yamada no Orochi clan to hunt down 4 people? Tell me, where are they now?" Du Xiaofu's eyes emitted a cold light as he stared fixedly at Shi Huang, wanting to see something from his eyes. 4 people. Shi Huang was stunned and did not understand. A woman with 3 children. Among them, there is a little Qilin and a supreme ant phoenix. Du Xiaofu said. This, through the reminder, Shi Huang instantly thought of something and could not help but be startled. As the clan leader, how could he not know about the appearance of a little Qilin and a supreme ant phoenix? As for the clansmen who were hunting down the 4 people, they had already sent the news back to the clan. This wasn't all, because the strongest in those clans were only 2 true Severing Realm experts. In order to avoid any accidents, their clan also had 2 Immortal Realm elders who had set out 2 days ago, leaving the clan to go and help out. One had to know that the little Qilin and the supreme ant phoenix were 2 powerful creatures that they could not easily miss. If there were no Immortal Realm experts to hold the fort, the other clans would be the Oriole behind and snatch them away. That would be a great loss. Tell me quickly. If you keep stuttering, I don't mind killing you first. I believe the others in your clan will tell me about this. Du Xiaofu's eyes narrowed. His gaze was as sharp as a knife, causing Shi Huang to shrink back in panic. However, he quickly calmed down and shook off the murderous aura that Du Xiaofu emitted. After all, this was the primordial chimeras. It was his clan. It was the chimeras. Their clans. Was his clan's the primordial chimeras' territory? It's their clan, was it Mantis's, was it? I'm afraid you've misunderstood. We've never heard of a little Qilin or a supreme ant phoenix. Shi Huang straightened his expression and said solemnly. He looked into Du Xiaofu's eyes and did not avoid them. He was extremely calm and collected, as if that matter really had nothing to do with the primordial chimeras. His idea was simple. He wanted to stall for as long as he could. No matter what, these people had come with murderous intent. If they really fought, even if he had the advantage in terms of territory, it would still cause heavy losses to his clan. Therefore, Shi Huang insisted that he did not know what Du Xiaofu meant. I understand. Du Xiaofu exhaled softly and nodded. Then, a flame shot out from his palm. However, it was not blazing. Instead, it carried an extremely eerie and evil intent. The flame was faint and flickered with a dark light. It was like the fire of hell, emitting a yin qi that made one's soul tremble. Ah! Shi Huang screamed as he was engulfed by the flame. It was as if he had been tortured by hell, and he was in extreme pain. However, his screams did not last for more than 3 breaths of time before they came to an abrupt end. In the eyes of the surrounding people, Shi Huang's body was like a piece of dry wood. He was quickly burned to ashes and disappeared from everyone's sight. Such a scene left everyone dumbfounded. This purple-robed youth was truly decisive in killing. He had killed the leader of the primordial Chimera Lion clan just like that. Moreover, he had killed him without even batting an eyelid. Elder, we have to inform the elders. Otherwise, no one will be able to deal with this human. This purple-robed young man is too scary. He is really bold. He killed the leader of the primordial chimeras just like that. Someone has already informed the elders. They should be coming out of seclusion soon. Elders, come out quickly and take down this human. As for the rest of the primordial chimeras, they were even more terrified. Their fear of Du Xiaofu was deeper than anyone else's. Although many people could see that his cultivation was not considered strong among the 200 or so humans, his methods made people feel inexplicably shocked. Now that things had come to this, only the elders of the immortal realm and the clan could resolve this crisis. Otherwise, with the purple-robed young man's ferocity, who knew what kind of trouble he would cause next? I said that if you don't want to tell me, I believe that others will be willing to tell me. Du Xiaofu waved his hand lightly and said coldly to the void where Shi Huang had disappeared. Under the circumstances where Chu Daoju had placed a powerful restriction on Shi Huang, he had used the law of fire to burn a true severing expert to ashes in an instant. After Du Xiaofu finished speaking, his gaze turned and looked at another person in the field like a knife. He extended his hand, releasing a light palm to capture the other. He was about to use the same trick again. However, right at this moment, a lion's roar reverberated in the sky like a thunderclap. It reverberated unceasingly in the sky. Roar! This roar rumbled, setting off huge waves that attacked in the direction of Du Xiaofu and the others. The void was like a tidal wave that came rushing over. The scene was incomparably spectacular, and it carried with it an extreme killing intent. A fifth sky of a mortal realm warrior dares to act presumptuously in front of me. Facing the terrifying sound wave, Du Xiaofu and the others didn't move. Only Chu Daoju snorted. His aura burst out fiercely. At the same time, he released a surging energy that could topple the mountains and overturn the seas, colliding with the tsunami of sound wave. At the moment the two of them collided, the sound wave was smashed as if it was crushing dry branches and smashing rotten wood. At the same time, Chu Daoju's surging energy continued to move deeper into the mountain ridge. Following a muffled groan, this wild energy tide quickly disappeared. Soon after, over 10 figures shot out from the mountain forest and arrived in front of everyone. Seventh sky or eighth sky of a mortal realm. Sir, you're really strong. Among the people who came, there was an old man with white lion fur. He looked at Chu Daoju with shock in his eyes. The other old men standing next to him were also shaken. When they faced Chu Daoju, they felt a tremendous pressure. Those 10 people weren't weak. The old man leading them was at fifth sky of a mortal realm. He was really intimidating. Old bastards, you're all here? Du Xiaofu casually tossed the person in his hand to the side and turned his gaze towards the dozen or so old men. Needless to say, those people were the real experts of the Chimera Lion tribe. However, Shi Yin didn't know if they were hiding or not. Human, you're strong, but don't think about stirring up trouble in our Chimera Lion tribe. Do you think we're easy to bully? The old man leading them glared at Chu Daoju and then raked his eyes through Du Xiaofu's group. While he was talking, the others behind him also wore cold faces. They didn't look friendly at all. I think with your cultivation base, you can hear what I've just asked from a distance. I don't want to repeat myself. If those 4 are in your tribe, you should hand them over immediately. If they aren't, you should tell me their whereabouts. Otherwise, your patriarch will serve as a warning. Du Xiaofu's eyes sparkled with a terrifying light. Although he was facing an immortal realm expert, he didn't dodge or retreat. He looked at the old man and said coldly. His purpose for coming here was simple. He wanted to find the whereabouts of the tomboy, the little Kylan, and the others. He didn't want to waste his breath on these people. Most importantly, with Chu Daoju and the other 200 immortal realm experts supporting him, Du Xiaofu wasn't worried at all that they wouldn't be able to defeat them. Brat, aren't you a little too arrogant? You killed our desolate tribe's clan leader. We'll settle this score first. The old man leading them raised his eyebrows and said with a snort. When facing the 200 immortal realm experts on Du Xiaofu's side, he didn't feel much fear. Obviously, he had a strong backing and didn't think much of these people. Is that so? Du Xiaofu lowered his voice and said indifferently, if that's the case, then let's fight. If you don't want to speak, then I'll capture you one by one. I have many ways to make you talk. As he spoke, he released a strong, murderous aura again. He didn't hide it at all. There's no need to talk anymore. Let's do it. Today, we'll capture all the experts of the Chimera Lion tribe who come out. No more nonsense. Chu Daoju waved his arm and said to the 200 people behind him, humans, you're too arrogant. How dare you behave so atrociously in our tribe? Have a taste of the power of our Chimera Lion tribe's protective array. How dare you kill our chief? You won't be able to go back. These words were uttered from the mouth of the old man who was the leader. His body swiftly withdrew after his voice sounded. Together with the dozen-plus people beside him, they also flew towards the deep regions of the mountain ridge. The old man shouted as he flew backward, activate the protective array and kill all these humans. Don't leave anyone alive. In the next instant, a strange wave of energy rippled out from the mountain ridge within a radius of 500 kilometers. Following that, a layer of light enveloped Du Xiaofu and the others. Be careful. This array is not simple. Chu Daoju's eyes were fierce. A broadsword appeared in his hand. He looked around cautiously and reminded everyone. Now that things had come to this, it was certain that the little Kylan and the others were indeed being hunted down by the Chimera Lion tribe. Otherwise, they would not have made such a big fuss. The Chimera Lion tribe's protective array was indeed extraordinary. When it appeared, it made an expert like Chu Daoju feel a little fearful. Soul attack. This protective array is indeed extraordinary. Everyone, be careful. Du Xiaofu looked around and realized that the space was rapidly distorting. Everything was changing. The mountain ridge that was originally lying below also changed accordingly, and the crowd could no longer find a way out. Layers of light flowed like mist. Wisps of black gas were mixed in. Once the black gas entered a person's body, it would cause the primordial spirit to be instantly paralyzed. It was as if the person was about to lose consciousness. In just a moment, Du Xiaofu already felt dizzy. It was as if his head was about to explode. Protect your primordial spirits. Don't let the black gas enter your body. If it gathers to a certain extent, it will be very dangerous. Chu Daoju said once more. Human, this is the protective array of our primitive tribe. Even if you're an expert at the ninth sky of a mortal realm, you can't escape from it. Now, enjoy the torture on your souls. I'll let you know what it means to live a life worse than death. At this moment, the voice of the old man of the Chimera Lion tribe came again, entering the ears of more than 200 people. Just as his words sounded, Du Xiaofu and the rest saw a large expanse of fog rolling over, pouncing towards them. The thick fog was like smoke with a mysterious aura that could block the senses of the primordial spirit. Du Xiaofu and the others couldn't see what was behind the thick fog. Let's go and check it out. We can't be trapped here forever. Du Xiaofu took the lead and directly plunged into the thick fog. In just an instant, he felt as if his body was being bitten by countless ants. Every inch of his flesh felt like it was being nibbled away. Even with the strength of his immortal Xin body, he was somewhat unable to resist. This situation made Du Xiaofu's heart extremely heavy. Not good. Suddenly, someone shouted from behind. Du Xiaofu turned around and saw the ancient emperor of the human clan and ancient ancestor Bifong, who came from the divine martial world with him. They collapsed and were caught by the people next to them. That was why they didn't fall into the void. At this moment, the two of them looked terrible. A mass of black gas lingered on their faces. Their eyes were closed, and they were on the verge of death. However, their throats were still making groaning sounds. It was very frightening. Obviously, they had suffered unimaginable injuries. Everyone, get into the desolate ancient space. Du Xiaofu didn't dare to delay. He opened a gap in the desolate ancient space and took the two of them in. They weren't the only ones. Some of the people who had just broken through to the immortal realm also entered the desolate ancient space with gloomy faces. Kid, you going too? I'll think of a way to break the formation. Today, we must uproot the primordial chimeras. Chu Daoju looked at Du Xiaofu and said in a low voice. Rays of multicolored light rose from his body, forming a tight protective shield, blocking all of the thick fog outside. I can still bear it for now. Du Xiaofu's face was ugly. His primordial spirit had suffered quite a bit of damage. However, he had refined the green dragon's blood essence before. In terms of soul talent, the primordial chimeras were far inferior to the green dragon clan. Therefore, even if Du Xiaofu's cultivation was at the bottom of the group, he could still bear it. Let me see how extraordinary this formation is. Chu Daoju looked forward and raised the saber in his hand high above his head. The energy in his body circulated rapidly. Large amounts of runes flew out and jumped around like mosquitoes. They gathered around the long saber above his head. Slash. These words came out of Chu Daoju's mouth. His long blade chopped down, brazenly chopping towards the void in front of him. Swish. The sound of the saber was accompanied by the sound of energy whistling. The void was split open and a terrifying crack appeared. It was like an ancient monster with its mouth wide open. The power of heaven and earth was vast and mighty. The true meaning of laws fluctuated. This saber light was formed by the path of the great Tao. It had the power to slash the heavens and destroy the earth. It was extremely terrifying. The dazzling saber light attacked with overwhelming power. It was as if it could cut the world apart. However, such a saber light only caused a small ripple when it slashed at the thick fog. It was like a gentle breeze. The saber light disappeared from everyone's sight just like that. This formation is too terrifying. Such a powerful attack didn't affect it much. Du Xiaofu was frightened. No one doubted Chu Daoju's competence. He could only say that this formation was too powerful. No wonder why the old man of the Chimera Lion tribe dared to boast that even an expert at ninth sky of a mortal realm had to die here. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Then, while Du Xiaofu was still in shock, the surrounding fog rolled over again, like a huge wave of a river sweeping over. This time, it released a terrifying aura, which made people shiver in fear. Just sensing the fluctuations from afar was enough to send chills down one's spine and make one's body go soft. This mist carried with it the power of execution, and it wanted to devour everyone. The rest of you should get into the desolate ancient space. We'll deal with things outside. Du Xiaofu made a prompt decision. Then, under Chu Daoju's signal, the others were taken into the desolate ancient space. Only Chu Daoju and Du Xiaofu were left outside. They did not dare to let their guard down in the slightest in the face of the primordial manticore tribe's protective array. If everyone was allowed to stay here, the consequences would be unimaginable. Du Xiaofu and Chu Daoju didn't want to see that kind of situation. They had to figure out a way to break the formation first. Then, they could proceed with the next step. Chapter 2779. After putting everyone into the barren ancient space, Du Xiaofu and Chu Daoju heaved a sigh of relief. After that, the two of them moved with all their might. They unleashed all of their abilities to protect themselves and prevent the mist from invading their bodies. Chu Daoju was still fine. His cultivation was high, and at least for the time being, he would not be affected too much. On the other hand, Du Xiaofu seemed to be a little powerless. The purple robe on his body was corroded and disintegrated. Under such circumstances, Du Xiaofu let out a low roar from his throat. It was like a dragon's roar, with a strong and ferocious aura. The power of a powerful living creature was vast and mighty. Then, scales grew on his skin. They were densely packed and glowed with a cold light, covering every part of his body. In the next moment, even his body shape underwent a great change. He turned into a huge dragon that spanned 100 feet in length and stretched across the void. This was the green spirit armor that had just reached the second transformation. As a technique taught in the 3,000 Great Worlds, Du Xiaofu could transform into a dragon's body after refining the green dragon's blood essence. His defensive power was unparalleled. As a result, The pervasive fog was firmly blocked outside, unable to affect him in the slightest. He's just like that guy. They're both so abnormal. Chu Daoju sighed in despair as he saw the changes in Du Xiaofu's body. However, Du Xiaofu did not pay much attention to this as he was in the Great Formation. Otherwise, he would be very curious. Could it be that Chu Daoju also recognized this green spirit armor? At this moment, outside the Great Formation, many experts of the primitive scorpion lion tribe had gathered. Even those who were not very strong were looking at the Great Formation with great shock in their eyes. Our tribe's Great Formation has not been activated for many years. I didn't expect it to be activated today because of some humans. Those humans are very strong. The tribe leader and the elders were captured in a moment. It's not just that. Even the ancestors did not dare to fight on the ground. Instead, they chose to fight with the Great Formation. Yes, from this, we can see how strong those people's cultivation is. But now, with the ancestors taking action and activating the protective clan formation, those humans will not be able to cause any trouble. Some of the weaker experts of the primitive scorpion lion tribe were talking about Du Xiaofu in the protective clan formation. Among these people, almost none of them had seen the protective clan formation. Their eyes were all widened. They wanted to see the power of the Great Formation's power and the power of their tribe. They wanted to see the power of the Great Formation's formations and how the Great Formations their tribe's clan formation S's. On the other side, over the immortal realm experts, the realm of the is God realm of the of realm of how of this of the of editor and n of s realm of the no matter what, as long as we can kill all these humans, we can still bear the cost. Beside him, an old woman of the primitive scorpion lion tribe said, "That's right. As long as Lion Hong and the others join forces with the eight-headed serpent clan to capture the little Qilin and the supreme phoenix ant, these losses will really be insignificant." The old man in the lead nodded and said with a burning gaze. His lion eyes were suffused with a strange brilliance and deep hope. How can a few little fellows in the seizing God realm escape? According to the news sent back by Lion Hong, those people came from the small world. They should not have any powerful means to escape from our encirclement. As soon as the old man in the lead finished speaking, the old woman next to him said, "How can people from the small world gather so many experts and come to our primitive scorpion lion tribe? This doesn't seem right." Someone felt that something was wrong and couldn't help but frown. He realized that something was wrong. According to the news sent back by the experts outside, the little Qilin and the others came from a small world to the 33 heavens. They should not have a strong background. But now, hundreds of immortal realm experts had directly killed their way to Lion Ancestors Ridge and came to cause trouble for the primitive scorpion lion tribe. Could it be that they had some kind of terrifying power in the 33 heavens? This thought lingered in the mind of the person who had spoken, making him feel endless worry. What are you afraid of? You should know that this is the Qian Su Jing Hua heaven. No matter what kind of background they have, they can't act presumptuously here. The old man in the lead let out a cold snort. He seemed to be very dismissive of the background of Du Xiaofu and the others. No matter what kind of background these people had, in the Qian Su Jing Hua heaven, if they were dragons, they had to coil up, and if they were tigers, they had to lie down. Otherwise, why would the innumerable experts of the 33 heavens rarely set foot in this world for countless years? Just the name of the Qian Su Jing Hua heaven was enough to make most people feel afraid. This was a kind of terrifying deterrence. That's true. This time, only 200 or so people have come here. I'm afraid that as soon as they come to this world, they'll come to our primitive scorpion lion tribe directly. If they stay here for a while longer, they'll attract the attention of those big clans. This time, our great formation is enough to deal with them. But if the power behind them dares to send more people, they'll have to bear the consequences in the end. An expert took over the conversation and said solemnly. In this way, the people who had some worries in their hearts all felt a lot more relaxed. They no longer felt serious because of the powerful background that little Qilin and the others might have. That little Qilin and the supreme ant phoenix were definitely going to get them. The old man in the lead suddenly clenched his fist and said with a ferocious smile on the corners of his mouth, "Now, Let's see how these humans will die in the Great Formation. That purple-robed young man seems to have a space treasure on him. He's sucked the others into it. It's okay. This Great Formation is at the ninth sky of a mortal realm. They can't resist it. In the end, they'll have to wait for death. Unless there's an expert in the meditative realm among them. We'll wait until that purple-robed young man and the middle-aged man are dead. Then, the others hiding in the space treasure won't be able to escape. Those experts discussed unceasingly. They were full of confidence as they stood outside the Great Formation and watched, waiting for Du Xiaofu and Chu Daoju to die in the formation. However, when Du Xiaofu's body changed and turned into an azure dragon, those people changed their faces. What's that technique? Isn't that kid a human? Azure dragon. It's the legendary azure dragon. It's rare to see azure dragons in the 33 heavens. It's said that it's a mysterious race. Its intimidating level is even higher than the dragons, phoenixes, and cheilants. How could it be? What's the origin of that purple-robed young man? How could he turn into an azure dragon? Those experts couldn't understand why a human could turn into an azure dragon. What kind of technique was that? They were so shocked that they couldn't believe it. It should be known that the Azure Dragon clan only existed in legends to them. It was rare to see them in the 33 heavens. The only rumors they had told them how powerful their clan was, and that purple-robed young man had turned into an azure dragon. It was something that they couldn't understand no matter how hard they tried. He must have some supreme treasure on him. Perhaps he's using the Azure Dragon clan's precious land, or the essence blood to cultivate. That's how he can do that. The leading old man's eyes flashed as he said softly, Azure Dragon essence blood. If we can get it, we'll have more experts. The Azure Dragon essence blood was so powerful that it didn't need to be explained. All of them wanted to get that supreme treasure. This time, if we can get the little Cheilin and the supreme phoenix ant, our harvest will be bigger than the Azure Dragon essence blood. Someone suddenly snickered and said. When the others heard this, they all nodded in agreement. Just as many experts of the primordial scorpion lion tribe were discussing, Du Xiaofu and Chu Daoju had already been completely enveloped by the dense fog. As a result, the power of their primordial spirits was even more useless. They used their cultivation to fly in one direction, but they got lost and couldn't find a way out at all. The corrosive power in the fog swallowed the energy barrier around them bit by bit. Gradually, even Chu Daoju's expression turned ugly. It's indeed a powerful formation. If an ordinary immortal realm expert came in, he wouldn't be able to hold on for long. Chu Daoju said solemnly. He tried many methods, but no matter how he attacked or used the power of laws, he couldn't make the fog change much. Instead, there were wisps of black gas inside. After it invaded his primordial spirit, it condensed on top of it, causing his spirit to fluctuate. If he wasn't strong enough, he probably wouldn't have been able to hold on. Senior Brother Chu, we can't go on like this. We have to think of a way to break the formation quickly. We have to get rid of the Chimera Lion clan. Du Xiaofu, who had transformed into the Azure Dragon, said with a murderous aura. With the protection of the Azure Spirit Armor, Du Xiaofu wasn't worried that he would suffer too much damage. The most important thing now was to break the formation and find out the whereabouts of Du Xiaoba, Du Xiaohuang, Du Xiaolin, and Ouying Shuang from the old fellows of the Chimera Lion clan. Every moment of delay meant that they would be in more danger. To Du Xiaofu, he couldn't afford to waste any time. No, I've already tried. This formation swallows all physical power. If we use the power of our primordial spirits, we'll be taken advantage of by the black gas. We seem to be in a somewhat awkward situation. If we want to break the formation, we have to find another way. Chu Daoju's face was solemn as he said these words. Maybe I have a way to try. Suddenly, Du Xiaofu had an idea. He thought of something that might be able to break the formation. Just as he finished speaking, with a thought, something flew out from his body. When Chu Daoju saw this thing, his eyebrows twitched as he said, This is the divine desolate heaven-lock formation that you took from the absolute spirit's sacred ground? In Du Xiaofu's hand was a circular array disc. On the array disc, there were 4 small compasses embedded on it. That's right. It's the divine desolate heaven-lock formation. However, it's just a replica. I think I can give it a try. Let's use this divine, desolate, heaven-lock formation to break the formation. Du Xiaofu narrowed his eyes as he said softly. As he spoke, all the energy in his body burst forth and poured into the array disk. The array disk immediately emitted a resplendent light, as if it had turned into a scorching sun. It was incomparably resplendent and dazzling. Buzz, 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 buzz. The 4 small compasses separated and flew into the air. They were grabbed by Du Xiaofu's dragon claws. However, the large disk array directly disappeared into the void. No one knew where it had gone. After that, Chu Daoju could clearly feel that there was a strange power of law fluctuating in the void, spreading out in all directions. This power of law was extremely vast and imposing. It was like a tide that covered the surroundings, enveloping an area of thousands of miles. In an instant, in addition to the dense fog that was everywhere in this area, there was also a strange power. The absolute spirit sacred grounds treasure is really good stuff. Chu Daoju looked at Du Xiaofu and at the same time felt the fluctuations in the air inside. With his strength, the fluctuations of the divine, desolate heaven-lock formation naturally could not escape his eyes. The mysterious traces of order were rewritten, and they were all connected to the 4 compasses in Du Xiaofu's dragon claws. There was a secret connection. Open for me. Du Xiaofu let out a deep roar. He poured his energy into the 4 compasses and began to mobilize the surrounding laws and order. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. In the next moment, the fog around Du Xiaofu and Chu Daoju was suddenly pushed away by a strong force, forming a small space for the 2 of them to stand in. As a result, the primordial Scorpion Lion clan's protective array was no longer able to affect the 2 of them. Swish! Du Xiaofu's body flashed with light, and his dragon form changed, returning to his original appearance. His face was somewhat red, as if he was under great pressure. Indeed, with his cultivation, he could activate the divine, desolate heaven-lock formation. However, the primordial Scorpion Lion tribe's protective formation was also extremely powerful. If he wanted to use this formation to break the formation, there would still be an enormous amount of pressure. The energy in his body continuously flowed into the 4 compasses. Only then did he maintain the small space around the 2 of them and not be invaded by the fog. If the one who controls this divine, desolate heaven-lock formation is in the immortal realm, it should be much easier. As the profound qi in Du Xiaofu's body rapidly circulated, he thought to himself. As soon as this thought appeared, he handed 2 of the compasses to Chu Daoju, allowing him to inject the power of his primordial spirit into them to control the divine, desolate heaven-lock formation. The effect was immediate. Under Chu Daoju's control of the divine, desolate heaven-lock formation, all the fog within a radius of several hundred miles was dispersed, and everything returned to its original appearance. The 2 of them quickly identified their location and charged in a certain direction. Let's see how your great array will trap me this time. Du Xiaofu frowned, a fierce glint shooting out from his eyes. Since they could identify the direction, this great array could no longer trap them. In order to not cause too much of a commotion, we originally didn't want to make a big fuss over the primordial Scorpion Lion clan. We only wanted to save them, teach them a lesson, and leave. But now, it seems that things are no longer up to us. Chu Daoju's eyes were deep as he coldly looked ahead and said, "Counter soldiers with arms, water with an earthweir. No difficulty is more important than the safety of my family. Whoever dares to have any ideas about them, I will send them to hell." Du Xiaofu had already grasped the purple-gold heavenly tower in his hand and charged out. Under his control, the divine, desolate heaven-lock formation also moved outwards and quickly arrived at the edge of the clan-protecting formation. At this time, many experts were still quietly waiting outside. They only wanted to see how long the purple-robed youth and his companion would last. However, suddenly, the old man from the primordial Scorpion Lion clan felt his heart skip a beat. There's a change in the array. What did those 2 do? Not only him, the others also sensed the change in the array and sensed the strange aura within. Immediately after, under everyone's gazes, Du Xiaofu and Chu Daoju directly broke free from the cover of the fog and flew in their direction. Crap! They've broken through the array. The clan-protecting formation can no longer trap them. The expression of the old man in the lead changed drastically. Shock rose from the bottom of his heart for no reason. He was no longer as calm as before. The methods of the purple-robed youth and his companion caused him to panic. The clan-protecting formation that the primordial Scorpion Lion clan was most proud of could not trap them. This was too terrifying. It was only at this moment that all the experts in the clan felt a true sense of danger. One had to know that there were more than 200 experts in that group. Other than a few at the true Severing realm, the rest of them had all reached the immortal realm. Such a force was enough to easily sweep through their primordial Scorpion Lion clan. If they allowed the two of them to rush out of the array, they would not have the slightest bit of strength to resist and would be quickly wiped out. Quick! Run! None of the clansmen should stay here. Quick! 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 The old man in the lead immediately shouted. Without any thought, he immediately flew into the air and fled into the distance. He did not even care about the rest of the people in his clan. Behind him, the other 10 or so immortal realm experts did the same. They all let out lion roars. As they sent messages to their clansmen, they turned around and left. They did not dare to delay at all. Make it big. If we want to make it big, it's best to attract the attention of the 3 great clans. Otherwise, with so many experts chasing after us, we won't be able to eat or sleep in peace even if we flee to the ends of the earth. The old man in the lead thought to himself as he fled. This was the best method he could think of now. Only by making it big and exposing these outsiders to the many clans of the Qian Su Jinhua Heaven would they have a chance to survive. Chapter 2780. Kill. Du Xiaofu and Chu Daoju shouted, their auras skyrocketing. Du Xiaofu's mind flickered, retrieving the divine barren skylock formation. Then, he swung his arm. Swoosh! Swoosh! More than 200 shadows stormed out of the desolate ancient space. Their auras were like rainbows as they chased after the experts of the desolate Chimera tribe. Roar! Then, Du Xiaofu roared one more time. The dragon roar tore the void. His body changed. The second transformation of the blue spirit armor was activated. The massive body of the blue dragon twisted in the void like a thick electric light, chasing after the experts. You can't escape. Chu Daoju raised his long saber and slashed the void. The majestic saber light reached the back of the old man of the desolate Chimera tribe in just a blink. There was a big gap between the two of them. The old man was at 5th sky of Immortal Realm while Chu Daoju was at 8th sky of Immortal Realm. His speed was much faster than the old man's. Kill. The other 200 warriors moved together, surrounding the desolate Chimera tribe and cutting off their escape route. Du Xiaofu's dragon body danced, and his dragon tail lashed out, sending a primordial manticore of the truth severing plane flying. Under the powerful force, the primordial manticore's body exploded in midair, turning into a cloud of bloody mist. Run! Countless disciples of the desolate Chimera tribe ran for their lives. However, under the joint attack of the 200 warriors, none of the warriors above the true Severing realm could leave the Lion Ancestors' Ridge. Du Xiaofu's team didn't show any mercy. They attacked with all of their strength. Waves of supernatural powers descended like a tsunami. The vast energy filled this space, turning it into an ocean of energy. The furious waves crashed and shattered the 9 heavens. The desolate Chimera tribe will be erased from this world today. An expert shouted, activating his Immortal Realm cultivation base. Invisible rules were triggered, forming a huge net of light that enveloped everyone. Except for the Immortal Realm experts, no one could escape from it. I can't escape. Countless people were overwhelmed with shock and despair. The huge net of light was like shackles that claimed their lives, wantonly reaping their lives. On the other side, Chu Daoju, Ling Feng, Long San, and more than 100 others had already disappeared from the area. They were chasing after the Immortal Realm experts. However, he could still vaguely feel a terrifying energy fluctuation coming from afar, shaking the heavens and earth. After the time it took for an incense stick to burn, the entire Lion Ancestors' Ridge fell into a state of tranquility. Under the onslaught of dozens of sempiternal realm experts, coupled with the fact that many sempiternal realm experts of the primordial scorpion lion race had already fled. These people were completely powerless to resist and were all captured. One restriction after another landed on their bodies, and none of them were able to move. They were like fish on a chopping board, waiting to be slaughtered. Not only the reality-severing realm cultivators, even the primordial chimeras of the primordial void realm had all been captured. The remaining people were also trapped within the lion ancestors' ridge, unable to leave. I don't want to repeat the question I asked before. Those who know can tell me directly, and I can consider sparing their lives. Du Xiaofu had already returned to his human form. He stood in the air and changed into a brand new purple robe, which fluttered in the wind. He was absolutely domineering. Around him, many primordial chimeras of the primordial chimeras lowered their heads, not daring to look at such a young man. In their eyes, this human was like the demon king. He was so ferocious that he could kill their patriarch without any hesitation. You're all very stubborn. It doesn't matter. I don't mind waiting for a while. Those patriarchs of yours won't be able to escape far. When the time comes, I have my ways to get all the information from them. At that time, your fates will be even more miserable. Don't blame me for not giving you a chance now. Seeing that no one answered for a long time, Du Xiaofu's eyes flashed with the light of thunder and fire. Every time he looked at someone, it was like two knives were placed on their necks, causing chills to run down their spines. Du Xiaofu wasn't wrong. After waiting for a while, Chu Daoju and more than 100 people came back. Although they outnumbered the others by 10 times, none of the experts of the primordial chimeras could escape. They were all captured. Du Xiaofu wasn't surprised by this situation. Kid, have you interrogated them yet? Chu Daoju threw the fifth sky of a mortal realm expert to his feet and turned to ask Du Xiaofu. Not yet. I'm afraid these small shrimps don't know much. It's better to take action from these old things. Du Xiaofu stepped out and went to Chu Daoju's side, grabbing the old man in the lead into his hands. At this moment, this expert at fifth sky of a mortal realm was like a little chick that Shi Yin was holding in his hand. Kid, we have to seize the time. These people haven't given up yet. They've spread the news. The other clans know what's going on here. I'm afraid it won't take long for the experts to come here. At that time, we'll be in big trouble. Chu Daoju frowned, talking to Du Xiaofu. With their competence, it wasn't a problem to capture these old freaks. However, it was hard to stop them from spreading the news. What a cunning old thing. Du Xiaofu squinted. He had learned from Chu Daoju that this world was different from the others. The creatures here were extremely xenophobic. If the ordinary experts came here, they wouldn't cause a big commotion. However, Shi Yin had more than 200 immortal realm experts on this trip. This kind of power was enough to sweep over a place. The Yuqing divine nation also had this kind of power. Thus, to deal with the outsiders, the other clans in the Jinghua heaven would join hands. At that time, Du Xiaofu's team would have to face endless troubles. This was also the reason why Yu Taiyin told Du Xiaofu seriously not to make too big of a commotion. Everything should be done to save people. You think I can't do anything to you if you don't tell me? Du Xiaofu suppressed his thoughts. Then, he raised the head of the primitive scorpion lion clan in his hand. Without a second thought, he raised his other hand and stretched out his 5 fingers, grabbing onto the man's head. Buzz, buzz, buzz. The soul-searching technique was activated. A strange light burst out from his body, forming a mysterious track. Like the roots of a big tree, it pierced into the old man's head. Ah! The old man let out a miserable howl. The terrifying lion's roar pierced through gold and cracked stones. It shook people's souls. Even Du Xiaofu felt a little dizzy. It had to be said that the immortal realm was indeed a height that Du Xiaofu was still far from reaching. Even though this old man's primordial spirit and physical body were sealed by Chu Daoju, he still had terrifying power. No matter how much you resist, it's all futile. Du Xiaofu snorted coldly. He forcibly stabilized his primordial spirit. After silently closing his eyes, he began to search the old man's memory carefully. After a long time, Du Xiaofu let out a long sigh. His expression suddenly relaxed. So it was you who did it. Du Xiaofu gnashed his teeth. His killing intent soared. He raised his palm, wanting to chop the old man in front of him into meat paste. However, this killing intent was forcibly suppressed by him. How is it? Chu Daoju raised his eyebrows and asked. He was surprised by Du Xiaofu's means. It seemed that he had seen such means on that guy before. It seemed that this kid was really extraordinary. Otherwise, why would that freak take a liking to him and teach him so many unique skills that made him famous? The information we received was correct. Ba, Huang, and the others were indeed jointly hunted down by the Chimera Lion tribe and the Yamata no Orochi tribe. Du Xiaofu's eyes focused as he said word by word. That's not all. For other Immortal Realm experts have already rushed over. However, there hasn't been any news from the people who killed Little Lin and the other three over the past few days to the primordial Scorpion Lion tribe. Therefore, I am still unable to confirm their current whereabouts. This old man had an extremely high status in the Chimera Lion tribe. He could be considered the strongest person. Although he had been in seclusion all this time, capturing Little Qilin and the Supreme Phoenix Ant was an important matter. Naturally, he would pay special attention to it. Every movement would be reported to him immediately. Therefore, Du Xiaofu was a little disappointed. He actually did not get much useful information from this old man. It seems that we have to go to the Yamata no Orochi tribe to take a look. I hope that we can find out the final whereabouts of those people there. Chu Daoju was also a student. He pondered and said, if the Chimera Lion tribe could not find them, then they could only continue to kill the Yamata no Orochi tribe. However, Chu Daoju was also secretly worried. Now that the old man had already informed the outside world of the changes here, they did not have much time to stay in this world. If those powerful clans realized what was going on, they would have nowhere to run and would be trapped here until they died. Of course, we have to go to the Yamata no Orochi tribe. No matter what, I have to save Ba, Lin, and the others. Du Xiaofu's body surged with a tyrannical aura. It carried an aura that could not be disobeyed. However, he also knew what Chu Daoju was thinking. These people were here to help him. Du Xiaofu did not want them to be in danger. Then, he shifted his gaze and glanced at the many primordial chimeras in the surroundings. Suddenly, he said, perhaps, I have a way to buy some time so that the other races in this world won't cause too much trouble for us. What way? Chu Daoju was stunned and asked. He was very curious. Could it be that this brat had a way to resolve this crisis? Keep. Du Xiaofu did not explain. He just opened the ancient desolate space and kept all the Chimera Lion tribe members who were above the God-seizing realm into it. Senior brothers, please protect me. We will not have to wait for too long. We can leave this place in peace. Du Xiaofu cupped his hands at Chu Daoju, Long San, Ling Feng, and the others. Then, without saying anything, he went into the ancient desolate space and the entrance closed. This brat is so mysterious. Long San curled his lips and muttered, I also want to know if he has a way to resolve this problem. On the other hand, Ling Feng's lips curled into a strange arc as he said with a smile, let's wait here. The brat said that it will not take long. It should be very soon. Chu Daoju said as he pursed his lips. Then, no one said anything else. They just waited quietly on Lion Ancestors Ridge for Du Xiaofu. In the ancient desolate space, Du Xiaofu was facing many experts of the Chimera Lion tribe. His eyes were gloomy, and there was a hint of viciousness in them. There were a dozen or so never-dying immortals, as well as countless truth-severing and seizing gods. In total, there were hundreds of thousands of them, making the entire desolate lands seem very crowded. It had to be said that this was a very powerful race. How dare you lay your hands on my family? Then, all of you will be my slaves. Du Xiaofu's voice was deep and cold. He did not hesitate anymore. His hands moved rapidly in the void. Strange seals were formed and formed into crimson runes. The combination of these runes finally transformed into a strange blood-red pattern that floated towards the experts and quickly drilled into their minds, disappearing without a trace. Seeing Du Xiaofu perform such a technique, all the experts of the primordial scorpion lion race trembled in fear. It was not difficult for them to feel that the pattern contained an extremely terrifying and mysterious power, which made their souls tremble when they looked at it. When the pattern went into their minds, it was quickly imprinted on their primordial spirits. Even though the Chimera Lion tribe was very talented in the soul realm, they could not resist it. With Du Xiaofu's current cultivation, it was naturally easy for him to imprint the blood soul seal and use the beast controlling technique. In addition, all the rules in the ancient desolate space were controlled by him, which firmly suppressed the primordial spirits of the experts of the Chimera Lion tribe. This made it very easy for him to use the blood soul seal. For the experts of the god-seizing realm, a large number of blood-red seals fell and quickly controlled the primordial spirits of those experts. To the experts of the god-seizing realm, Shi Yin had to spend more effort. However, it was still easy for him. However, the number of people he needed to control this time was a little too much. Although the conditions were favorable, Du Xiaofu had to spend more than 10 days to imprint the blood soul seal on hundreds of thousands of people. It was really tiring for him. Master. Facing Du Xiaofu, the hundreds of thousands of people all lowered their heads respectfully and saluted him. Under the control of the blood soul seal, the experts of the beast clan would become the best slaves that could be ordered around by others. Human, what have you done? The old man at fifth sky of Immortal Realm was so frightened that he wanted to die. Du Xiaofu had used the soul-searching technique on him, so he was very weak at this moment. However, when he saw so many of his fellow clansmen addressing Du Xiaofu as master, a chill surged from the bottom of his heart and came out in waves. Now, it's your turn. Du Xiaofu heaved a sigh of relief as he stared at the old man in the lead and the dozen or so Immortal Realm experts around him. These people were the top forces of the ancient, desolate Chimera Lion tribe. However, their primordial spirits were terrifyingly tough. Their attainment in the soul principle had reached perfection, and they were fusing with the primordial spirit step by step. It's a technique to control the primordial spirit. It's similar to the innate supernatural powers of my tribe. At this moment, everybody understood Du Xiaofu's technique and what they were about to face. The ancient, desolate Chimera Lion tribe was born with the technique to control the primordial spirit. Those who had reached the immortal realm like these people were the best of their kind. How could they not know how intimidating a person could be? Thus, they were all scared out of their wits. In the past, only they could use this technique to control others. How could they allow others to use this technique on their tribe? However, today, this kid at the true severing realm in front of them had given them endless fear. Don't come over. Someone hurriedly retreated, trying to avoid Du Xiaofu's blood soul seal. However, in this ancient desolate space, everything was under Du Xiaofu's control. How could he avoid it? Human, the ancient desolate Chimera Lion tribe admits defeat. If you have any conditions, feel free to state them. As long as you let us go, we'll do anything. The old man in the lead looked at Du Xiaofu, trying to hide the fear in the depths of his eyes as he spoke. Haha. What answered him was Du Xiaofu's cold laugh. He continued, if you knew this would happen, why did you do it in the first place? Now, you have no way out. Your everything, including your lives, is under my control. What right do you have to talk terms with me? Du Xiaofu's smile was icy cold. He looked at the old man in the lead as if he was looking at a retard, as if he was mocking him. As long as he successfully used the blood soul seal, then these people would all be his slaves. They would no longer be disloyal. This way, he could get anything he wanted from them. Why would he need to make any terms with them? Moreover, you ancient desolate Chimera Lion tribe dared to attack my family, so you were destined to die. However, I still have a use for your lives, so I won't kill you for now. Du Xiaofu snorted coldly. He formed a blood-colored seal in his hand and imprinted it on the forehead of the old man in the lead. Qi, the power of the blood soul seal exploded, and it directly disappeared into his skin. It invaded his brain and imprinted itself on his primordial spirit. The old man was indeed an immortal realm cultivator. He launched a strong resistance. However, faced with such a situation, Du Xiaofu immediately mobilized the formless power of the ancient, desolate space and suppressed his primordial spirit, causing him to be unable to move. Time passed slowly. When the blood soul seal had completely taken control of the old man's soul, the struggle in his eyes vanished abruptly. He only looked at Du Xiaofu with an obedient and submissive gaze. Master. The old man bowed respectfully to Du Xiaofu. From now on, you will be called Lion One, but you will still be called by your original name. Du Xiaofu said softly. Then, he ignored him and walked directly to the next Immortal Realm cultivator. After another few days, Du Xiaofu finally used the beast controlling skill on the remaining dozen Immortal Realm cultivators. He controlled their primordial spirits one by one and made them his slaves. In this way, the entire ancient, desolate Chimera Lion tribe was now under his control. The entire tribe was under his control. Chapter 2781. After Du Xiaofu finished all of this, he brought everyone out of the desolate ancient space and appeared in the sky above Lion Ancestor Mountain, arriving in front of Chu, Daoju, and the others. After successfully using the Blood Soul Seal, the seals on all the members of the Chimera Lion clan were undone. Lion One and the others regained their freedom. Because of the time acceleration in the desolate ancient space, Chu Daoju and the others did not have to wait for long. It was less than a day. Done? Lion One raised his eyebrows and asked Du Xiaofu. He seemed to have expected the situation and was not surprised. Du Xiaofu nodded in affirmation. I'll leave Lion Ancestor's Ridge to you. Let's continue to the Yamada no Orochi clan. Du Xiaofu turned his head and ordered Lion One. Yes. Lion One was respectful and did not dare to disobey. Let's go. Du Xiaofu waved his hand and set off again with Chu Daoju and the others. They went to the Yamada no Orochi clan. As for Lion Ancestor's Ridge, he was relieved to leave it to the Chimera Lion clan. The news of them coming to the Qian Su Jing Hua Heaven had already spread. There would be experts coming to investigate the situation here very soon. It was not difficult to let Lion One and the others keep those people in check for the time being. However, the matter could not be hidden for too long. As long as they could buy enough time for Du Xiaofu to rescue the tomboy, Du Xiaoba and the others, it would be good enough. Du Xiaofu and the others continued to move forward at full speed towards the Yamada no Orochi clan. Every world in the 33 heavens was vast and contained countless creatures. They came out of the wormhole earlier and were not far from the Chimera Lion clan. Therefore, it only took them a day to reach Lion Ancestor's Ridge. But this time, the journey from Lion Ancestor's Ridge to the Yamada no Orochi clan was much longer. Fortunately, Chu Daoju, Ling Feng, Long San and other powerful immortal experts led them. They only spent 3 days in the wormhole to reach the Yamada no Orochi clan. Du Xiaofu learned from the memories of Lion One and the others that the Yamada no Orochi clan was located in a place called the Tsanghuan Grotto. In front of everyone's eyes, they saw a thick mountain range meandering from afar. The end of the mountain range forked into 8 branches, as if the main body of the Yamada no Orochi was lying there. There was not a lot of Lion Ancestor's Ridge. The mountains were bare rocks. Numerous pitch-black holes were densely packed, looking as if they had been eaten by worms, causing one's scalp to go numb at the sight. This is the Tsanghuan Cave. Du Xiaofu Ridge Du Xiaofu. In his perception, the stone mountain contained an extremely rich spirit qi, but at the same time, it also contained a terrifying and eerie aura. Let's let Xiao. Chu Daoju glanced at Du Xiaofu Ridge Ancestor and said. Hearing this, Du Xiaofu Ridge Ancestor nodded indifferently. Without saying anything else, he flew out. At the same time, his hands moved in the air, forming mysterious hand seals. Hua! In an instant, a gigantic 8 trigrams appeared in the sky and hovered above everyone's heads. It emanated a domineering pressure that caused the heavens and the earth to tremble. This kid's methods are really powerful. Seeing Du Xiaofu Ridge Ancestor, Chu Daoju, Ling Feng, Long San, and the others couldn't help but sigh. They were shocked by this method. Under their perception, the 8 trigrams diagram in the air carried an incomparable aura. Among them, the 8 laws of heaven, earth, water, wind, thunder, fire, mountain, and swamp vibrated. They complemented each other and countered each other. This 8 trigrams diagram isn't simple. It can include the 4 primitive laws of time, space, matter, and soul. I'm afraid this is the method that Lu Xiaoyu taught him. In the crowd, Ling Feng looked at Du Xiaofu Ridge Ancestor and whispered to Chu Daoju and Long San. I think so. However, this kid only has the thunder and fire laws of matter that have reached the perfect realm. Besides, his attainment in the space law is also very profound. As for the time and soul laws, they are much worse. Long San nodded and said, at his age, it's already very impressive to reach this step. Moreover, in the true severing realm, I'm afraid that in the whole 33 heavens and the 3,000 great thousand worlds, there are only a few people like him who can master so many laws at the same time. Everyone wanted to break through to a higher level of cultivation. Only by focusing on a single primal law would one be able to break through faster. However, this fellow was probably going to be like some other freaks, wanting to grasp 2 primordial laws before making a breakthrough. If he breaks through to the immortal realm, under the combination of the space law and the matter law, ordinary third sky of immortal realm experts won't be his opponents. Ling Feng said indifferently, I'm afraid it's not that simple. I always feel that his future is limitless. With our vision, we can't see through him. Suddenly, Chu Daoju smiled and said, he had guessed that the world that Du Xiaofu controlled could be the same as the spirit martial world of the 3,000 great thousand worlds. However, he had only told Yu Taiyin and Yu Yuqin about this. He had never mentioned it to anyone else. What do you mean? Long San and Ling Feng were startled. They looked at Chu Daoju and asked. Haha, Chu Daoju smiled and said softly, if I say that he has the chance to become the next Lu Xiaoyu, would you believe me? He looked at the two with his bright eyes, trying to see their expressions. This, Long San and Ling Feng were stunned. Their heartbeats sped up several times. You really dare to think about it. The two of them smiled bitterly at the same time and shook their heads like a rattled drum. Lu Xiaoyu's achievements, how many people could there be? It seemed that in the whole 33 heavens and the 3,000 great thousand worlds, there was only one such abnormal weirdo. They didn't dare to imagine how Du Xiaofu could reach such a height. Just thinking about it made them feel extremely incredulous. In their knowledge, Lu Xiaoyu's height was unreachable. Even his brothers could only get close to it. It was very difficult for them to reach it. For all other creatures, it was a supreme position. They looked down on the common people. Below them, all existences were ordinary ants. Wait and see. I hope that there will be a day like that. If I can witness the rise of such a powerhouse again, my life will not be in vain. Chu Daoju sighed and said slowly. After that, everyone stopped talking and turned their gazes towards Du Xiaofu, who was standing in the air. Under the gazes of these people, Du Xiaofu's purple robes fluttered in the wind. Around him, scenes appeared. Heavenly thunder, earthly fire, thick earth, raging seas, hurricanes, trees, and other things evolved, reflecting each other. And in the invisible void, there were strange traces of the space laws, forming a unique domain. Endless rays of light burst forth and circled around Du Xiaofu's body, making him look like a deity who controlled everything there. There are fluctuations of the time laws. Looking at Du Xiaofu's 8 trigrams forming in the void, Chu Daoju's eyelids jumped and he said in shock. Under his perception, it wasn't difficult to discover that in the space around Du Xiaofu, there was a hint of time acceleration. Although this sign wasn't obvious, it was still keenly captured by him. This boy, Chu Daoju, was speechless. Du Xiaofu really refreshed his impression of him again and again. He clearly knew that this boy didn't seem to have dabbled in the time laws. How could he have mastered the time laws? However, what Chu Daoju didn't know was that Du Xiaofu had fought with Zhao Linfeng of the Extreme Spirit Holy Ground in the Chaos Space. After capturing him, he hid in the Void Wheel of Time. During the time when he was in seclusion in the Yuqing Divine Kingdom, he hadn't been idle. He hadn't been comprehending the matter laws and space laws. He had also tried to touch the time laws. Although he couldn't really control it, he could already release some of the time laws' charm. Walala. Under everyone's shocked gazes, the 8 trigrams in the sky rotated. At the same time, Du Xiaofu's hand seals condensed again and again. A terrifying pressure rose rapidly, oppressing the void, causing the space to tremble. The huge 8 trigrams, as well as a large area of heavenly thunder and earthly fire, mountains and rivers, all followed his movements and rose together, covering the sky. Heavenly thunder and earthly fire, subdue the heavens. These words came out of Du Xiaofu's mouth. His hand seals changed, and the 8 trigrams in the sky rotated rapidly, transforming into a shadow. Rumble. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The thunder roared and the earthly fire raged. Each of them transformed into a long dragon, rushing out from Du Xiaofu's head and feet. In the process of moving forward, the long dragon of thunder and lightning and the long dragon of fire directly intertwined and condensed into one, forming an even more terrifying giant dragon. It exuded a blazing and domineering aura, causing the void to seem as if it had been burned through, and a handful of ashes drifted down from the sky. This long dragon of thunder and fire bared its huge fangs and suddenly rushed down toward the mountain below. Heavenly thunder and earthly fire, 2 extremely strong and domineering time laws, moved the sky and brazenly bombarded a place in the mountain. Rumble. After an earth-shaking explosion, the mountain range was directly flattened, and a huge hole with a radius of thousands of miles appeared on the ground, like an abyss. Master of the Yamada no Orochi clan, quickly come out. Otherwise, I will raise your Tsonghuan grotto to the ground. Du Xiaofu's voice was loud and clear, shaking the sky and reverberating for thousands of miles. The moment he attacked, he directly used one of his strongest methods. This method was the most direct and effective. It could alarm all the experts of the Yamada no Orochi clan. Now, he no longer had time to delay. Not only were Du Xiaoba, Du Xiaohuang, Ouyang Shuang, and Du Xiaolin waiting for rescue, the whereabouts of Du Xiaoyao and Little Xingxing were still unknown. Only by finding Du Xiaoba and the other 3 would he be able to find out where the other 2 were. Who dares to be impudent in my Tsonghuan grotto? Sure enough, just as Du Xiaofu's voice fell, a sharp whistling sound rang out, drilling into one's ears like an awl. Come, let's go down. Du Xiaofu waved his hand, and the 8 trigrams in the air dissipated. Then, he, Chu Daoju, and the others moved together, descending towards the mountain range below. In everyone's line of sight, the densely packed caves didn't look big from afar, but when they got closer, they discovered that each cave was thousands of feet in radius. They were extremely huge, like the mouths of evil ghosts, causing people to be intimidated at first glance. It was from these caves that figures shot out, rushing towards Du Xiaofu and the others. These figures each had 8 heads of different colors. They had dense fangs, and from time to time, they would spit out their snake tongues. They were sinister and terrifying, extremely strange and terrifying. Who are you? How dare you invade my Yamada no Orochi clan? Are you tired of living? Among the people who appeared, someone shouted loudly at Du Xiaofu and the others. Intense killing intent also erupted from the bodies of the others. It rose up and covered more than 200 people, as if they were ready to start a massacre at any time. Humph! Chu Daoju snorted coldly. His powerful cultivation erupted, and a terrifying aura floated up, suppressing the people directly. Many people of the Yamada no Orochi clan immediately turned pale. Du Xiaofu didn't waste any time, and directly asked about the whereabouts of Du Xiaoba, Du Xiaohuang, Du Xiaolin, and Ouyang Shuang. However, when they heard his question, many people of the Yamada no Orochi clan turned pale. It's you. They seemed to have thought of something, and in an instant, they were scared out of their wits. They spoke in horror, and their voices changed. They kept pointing at Du Xiaofu and the others. The humans who were looking for the little Kylan and the supreme phoenix ant. How could these people appear here? A few days ago, the Chimera Lion clan sent news that someone had invaded Lion Ancestors Ridge. Their protective array couldn't stop them, so they could only flee. Those intruders must be these people in front of us. Later, didn't they say that those humans had all been captured by them? How could these people appear here? No, this is too strange. The Chimera Lion clan tricked us. We should have known that if those people could really deal with the Chimera Lion clan, how could they be killed so easily? It turns out that the Chimera Lion clan tricked us. Why did they do this? Why did they make us lower our guard and trap us, the Yamada no Orochi clan, in danger. The Chimera Lion clan actually dared to trick us. We, the Yamata no Orochi clan, will fight to the death with you. Many experts of the Yamata no Orochi clan spoke with trepidation. No one could figure out the key point of this matter. They couldn't figure out why the primeval Chimera Lion clan had clearly sent news that someone had invaded and was looking for the little Qilin, the supreme phoenix ant, and the others, yet not long after, the primeval Chimera Lion clan said that those humans had already been eliminated. This was clearly a trap. These humans are very strong, and almost all of them are in the immortal realm. Our Yamata no Orochi clan is really in danger this time. What are you waiting for? Quickly send the news that they are here to the outside world. Something must have happened to the Chimera Lion clan, or they have made some kind of deal with these humans. Now we can only count on the other clans. Damn the Chimera Lion clan. I'm afraid it's already too late to send the news now. When the other clans arrive, I'm afraid our Yamata no Orochi clan will no longer exist. Many experts of the Yamata no Orochi clan are all flustered. The only way they can think of is to let the other clans of the Qinshu Jinghua Heaven know what has happened here so that they can join forces to annihilate these human experts who have offended them. It seems that they are also a bunch of stubborn creatures. Seeing the attitude of the Yamata no Orochi clan members, Du Xiaofu already knew that they would not tell the truth directly either. Attack. Whose fist is bigger, whose word is the truth. If they don't want to tell the truth, then let's beat them until they tell the truth. Chu Daoju's body shook the sky and directly pounced on them. Kill. Du Xiaofu also did not hesitate much. He brazenly rushed out and rushed toward the crowd of the Yamata no Orochi clan. Fight. If you want to offend our Yamata no Orochi clan, you have to pay a sufficient price. An expert waved his 8 heads and roared loudly, colliding with Du Xiaofu, Chu Daoju, Ling Feng, Long San, and the others. However, the strength of this clan was only equal to that of the Chimera Lion clan. They did not have many experts. Compared to more than 200 Immortal Realm experts, this clan was really too insignificant. They had also thought of opening the clan's formation to fight, but Du Xiaofu had already deployed the Divine Wasteland Heavenlock formation, causing everyone to lose their sense of direction. They could not even find their own homes. You're not strong, but you talk big. You just want to borrow the strength of other clans to deal with us. But before that, your Yamata no Orochi clan will be completely removed from this world. During this time, Du Xiaofu, with the help of Chu Daoju, mobilized the power of the Divine Wasteland Heavenlock formation and captured an Immortal Realm expert of the Yamata no Orochi clan. He performed the soul-searching technique and obtained the expert's memory. This time, the content he obtained was not the same as what he had learned from Lion One. According to the information from both sides, he finally knew that Du Xiaoba, Ouyang Shuang, Du Xiaolin, and Du Xiaohuang had really disappeared. Not only them, but the experts of the 2 clans who were chasing after the 4 of them also did not send back any news. Earlier today, several Immortal Realm experts sent by the Yamata no Orochi clan to help had informed the clan that those people were most likely dead. Little Qilin, Supreme Phoenix Ant, and the others seemed to have been rescued by a mysterious person. The identity of the person who rescued them was unknown. The only thing that could be determined was that the person must be an Immortal Realm expert. Now, the experts of the Yamata no Orochi clan and the Immortal Realm experts of the Chimera Lion clan had gathered together and were pursuing and trying to capture all of them. Chapter 2782. This news was good news for Du Xiaofu. At the very least, his 4 closest relatives were not in danger for the time being. Someone had rescued them. Du Xiaofu was also very curious about the identity of the person who had attacked. The 7 of them came from Shenwu world, so they didn't have many old friends in the 33 heavens. If they were to count, there were only East Immortal, West Demon, South Ru, North Addict, Central Divinity, Beigong Clan, etc. And these people should not have come to the Qian Su Jinghua heaven. Thinking of this, Du Xiaofu was even more worried. Could it be that the person who did this also had designs on Little Lin and Little Huang? Such a guess made Du Xiaofu feel uneasy. Boy, capture them all. You decide how to deal with these people. Just as Du Xiaofu was deep in thought, Chu Daoju's voice rang in his ears. Du Xiaofu gave him 2 compasses. With the help of the divine wilderness heaven-lock formation, it was even easier to quickly end the Yamada no Orochi clan. So this process was just like a sweep. It did not last for too long. Du Xiaofu thought for a while and said, "Little Ba and the others have been rescued. I'm worried that there will be more trouble. And now some immortal-level experts of the Yamada no Orochi clan and the Chimera clan are still chasing after them. We must stay here so that we can get the latest news at any time." It was because of these considerations that Du Xiaofu decided to use the Blood Soul Seal on all the experts of the Yamada no Orochi clan, just like the Chimera clan. And then some people must stay here so that they can get the latest news at any time. Then we'll do as you say. Chu Daoju nodded in agreement. Next, Du Xiaofu repeated the same trick and began to control the experts of the Yamada no Orochi clan, who were at the God-seizing stage and above. When Du Xiaofu used the beast-controlling technique, many experts of the Yamada no Orochi clan were filled with endless regret. They could only blame themselves for being greedy. They just had to provoke that little Qilin and the Supreme Phoenix Ant, bringing such a huge disaster to their own clan. After this, the 8-headed serpent clan would be completely reduced to the puppets of others. Everything would be out of their control. The resentment in many people's hearts stopped abruptly when Du Xiaofu placed the Blood Soul Seal on them. With the help of the desolate ancient space, it took him another day to turn all the top powerhouses of the Yamada Orochi clan into his slaves. It could be said that the Lion Ancestors Ridge and the Tsanghuan Grotto had both become Du Xiaofu's subordinate forces in the Qian Su Jinghua Heaven. After doing all this, Du Xiaofu did not feel relaxed. He didn't expect that the situation would change. The whereabouts of the little Qilin and the others had once again become confusing. Should we try to find them? Or should we send some people to stay in the 2 clans? Chu Daoju asked Du Xiaofu again. This time, everyone came to help him, so naturally they would listen to his opinion. We can't stay here. More than 200 Immortal Realm experts have come to this world. Even if the Chimera Lion clan and the Yamada no Orochi clan don't spread the news, we can't hide our tracks for long. Before he left, Senior Brother Yu had warned him to keep a low profile and not cause too much of a commotion. If we're not careful, we'll probably become the target of public criticism. At that time, I'm afraid it'll be very difficult for us to leave the Qian Su Jinghua Heaven, Du Xiaofu said with a frown. If he were alone, there would be nothing to be afraid of. With his skills, even if he did not dare to say that he could do whatever he wanted in the Qian Su Jinghua Heaven, he would still have a great chance to get away if he wanted to take a risk. After all, his existence alone would not attract the attention of too many forces. But when more than 200 Immortal Realm experts gathered together, it would be a different story. In view of the fact that this world was hostile to creatures from other worlds, Du Xiaofu did not dare to take the risk. These people were all entrusted by the Divine Emperor and Chu Daoju to help him. He did not want to see any of them die here. He could not bear the consequences. Therefore, Du Xiaofu left only 2 people in the Tsanghuan Grotto, hiding in the dark. Once there was news, the Yamada no Orochi clan would report it directly, and they would pass it on to him and the others. In addition, Chu Daoju sent another 2 people to the Lion Ancestors Ridge to hide. The others continued on their way, heading to the outside world. When the Immortal Realm experts of the Chimera Lion clan and the Yamada no Orochi clan set out, they had an approximate direction. Du Xiaofu and the others were also heading in that direction. After Du Xiaofu and the others left, the Tsanghuan Grotto returned to its usual tranquility. Everything was carried out according to the order of the past, as if nothing had happened. Other than the huge pit in the mountain, there was nothing unusual about it. However, in the next few days, batch after batch of experts came to the Tsanghuan Grotto to inquire about the situation. The person in charge of the Yamada no Orochi clan did not hide anything from these people. He directly said that there were indeed many Immortal Realm humans who had come to their clan and had a conflict. The goal of these humans was to find little Qilin and the others. However, when they found out that their clan had not captured little Qilin and the others, they hurriedly left to continue their search. As for the specific direction, they did not know. This was what Du Xiaofu had told him, and what the chimeras of the primordial world had said was the same. He knew that the arrival of more than 200 people could not be concealed. In order to prevent the races in this world from suspecting the Yamato no Orochi clan, it was better to let them say some half-truths to dispel the suspicion of others. After this, 2 people were left to guard the Lion Ancestors Ridge and the Tsanghuan Grotto respectively, waiting for news. However, the appearance of Du Xiaofu and the others still attracted the attention of many races of the Qian Su Jinghua heaven. They began to gather some forces to search for them. On the other side, Du Xiaofu and the others were rushing toward the direction where little Qilin and the others had appeared. They did not delay at all along the way. Because the Chimera Lion clan and the Yamato no Orochi clan were both under Du Xiaofu's control, Du Xiaofu could be said to know the movements of the Immortal Realm experts sent by the 2 clans like the back of his hand. He would receive news from the 2 clans at any time. Along the way, the group avoided the hinterlands of some powerful clans so as to not disturb more experts. Although they had a target, those people were always on the move. Therefore, Du Xiaofu and the others could not immediately know their location. It was only on the 11th day that they received news from the Lion Ancestors Ridge and the Tsanghuan Grotto again. Little Qilin, Little Huang, and the others have been found. According to the intelligence of the 2 clans, the Immortal Realm experts they had sent had already located the location of the group. Du Xiaofu also finally learned that the person who had rescued them earlier was a woman. However, after this woman defeated those people who had chased them and left with Du Xiaoba and the others, the experts of the 2 clans still caught up with them. It's good that they found them. Let's go there at once. Send a message to the 2 clans. First, calm down the experts they sent and don't act rashly. Chu Daoju said softly, his eyes shining. The people of the Chimera Lion clan and the Yamato no Orochi clan who had stayed behind had all been planted with the Blood Soul Seal by Du Xiaofu. However, the experts they sent were not. They were still free. Their goal was still to capture little Qilin and the others. If those people were allowed to act wantonly, it would lead to extremely terrible consequences. They must not be allowed to cause any harm to little Qilin and the others. Now, they could only start from their clans and calm down those people. When they arrived, everything would be easy. Let's go. Du Xiaofu waved his hand and took the lead, tearing open space and traveling through it. As he hurried, he kept thinking about the identity of the mysterious woman who had rescued Ouyang Shuang and the others. Logically speaking, he did not know many people in the 33 clans. Strictly speaking, he should not know any woman of the immortal realm. Back in the divine battle world, after he had died fighting the demon god, the people of the Beigong clan who had saved him obviously did not have such strength. Unable to figure it out, Du Xiaofu stopped thinking about it. He just frowned, hoping that everything would be in time and that nothing would happen to his close relatives. Kid, don't worry. This time, I don't think anything will happen to us. Chu Daoju patted his shoulder and said so. Hearing that, Du Xiaofu nodded, looked at him with gratitude, and said nothing. Time flew by quickly, and another 2 days passed quietly. And on this day, somewhere in the Qian Su Jinghua heaven, 2 groups of people were confronting each other. On one side, there were Beast Clan experts. Although they were all in human form, they all retained the characteristics of their respective clans. There were a total of 7 of them. 4 of them had wild hair like lions, curling around their faces. They all had a black scorpion tail on their backs, giving off a cold light. As for the other 3, they all had 8 heads. Their necks were long and slender, and they looked extremely strange and terrifying. In the center of the 7 people, a figure shrouded in light stood. It was vaguely visible that the figure was slender and graceful. It seemed to be a woman. Beside the woman, there were 3 children standing. The cultivation of each child was very profound and quite extraordinary. Among them, a little girl was holding a woman in her arms. She was in a coma, as if she had been injured and had not woken up yet. These people were Du Xiaoba, Du Xiaolin, Du Xiaohuang, and Ouyang Shuang. The woman beside them was the one who had saved them earlier. Primitive Chimera Lion clan, Yamato no Orochi clan, you are really haunting me. The woman looked around, glanced at the 7 people besieging her, and said softly. Her voice was pleasing to the ear, like the sound of nature. After chasing you for so many days, we finally caught you. Let's see where you can escape to this time. On the periphery, An expert of the primitive Chimera Lion clan looked at the woman shrouded in light and said coldly, "Heh, hand over the 3 children beside you, and we will let you go. Otherwise." On the other side, an old man of the Yamata no Orochi clan said with a cold smile, "Only death. I won't give them to you. If you want to fight, don't talk nonsense. Just do it." The woman's posture was tranquil, and her tone was gentle as she said unhurriedly. She had observed that the 7 people around her had terrifying cultivation levels. They were all immortal realm experts, and their true cultivation levels were even higher than hers. However, in the face of these 7 people, she still looked calm and composed. She was not afraid, and she did not retreat. "Fine. Since that's the case, you can die first." The expert of the primitive Chimera Lion clan snorted, and then his body moved into the air and charged toward the woman. "Let's attack together and end this quickly." When the other 6 people saw this, they moved at the same time and charged toward the mysterious woman. In an instant, the entire void was filled with all kinds of power of law. It was like a tsunami, and it shook the heavens and the earth. Swoosh! In the face of the 7 people's joint attack, the woman did not say a word. Her hands moved in the void. Her 10 slender fingers suddenly struck out, and 10 holes appeared in the void. It was from these 10 holes that a large number of light swords rushed out to meet the 10 people. "You overestimate yourself. How dare you fight against the 7 of us by yourself?" The experts of the 2 clans sneered and attacked with all their might. Terrifying lion roars rang out from the mouths of the 4 primordial chimeras, causing the space to collapse into pieces and shatter into nothingness. Behind them, the scale-like scorpion tail pierced out, and it was suffused with black light. It was soul-stealing. Kill. The 3 experts of the Yamato no Orochi clan also exerted all their strength. Their 8 heads turned into snake heads, and they danced in the void. They each spat out 8 different colored energy light beams, and they attacked the woman directly. Boom, 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 boom. This was a powerful collision between 2 immortal realm experts. In an instant, the attacks of the 2 sides collided, and a destructive energy burst out. The void was blasted into chaos, and a huge pit appeared in the ground below. The mountain range in the distance was swept away and turned into flat ground. Everything was turned into powder in an instant. "You overestimate yourself, little girl. Die." The 7 experts sneered and launched a frenzied attack again. One after another, divine abilities rained down like a storm, densely packed together as they struck horizontally. The light sword outside the woman's body was instantly shattered, and the spatial cracks she created also exploded with a bang. In a head-on collision, she fell into an absolute disadvantage. The opponent's strength was too strong. There were 7 immortal realm experts, and she couldn't fight against them alone. Ugh! The woman's throat let out a muffled groan, as if she had been shaken quite a bit. She looked at the 7 people around her, and an even brighter light surged from her body, enveloping herself, Du Xiaoba, and Du Xiaohuang. She took the strongest defensive state. Facing the encirclement of so many experts, she couldn't fight them head-on. "Auntie, why don't you hand us over?" At this time, Du Xiaoba raised his head, looked at the woman, and said such a sentence. "Yes, Auntie. They want the 3 of us. As long as we go with them, they won't make things difficult for you anymore. But please take my mother with you, I beg you." At the side, Du Xiaohuang also spoke out and said to the woman. She hugged Ouyang Shuang, and her big eyes were a little sad. The little guys were very grateful to this girl who suddenly appeared and saved them. However, the situation was critical now. If they continued to resist, not to mention the few of them, even this unknown auntie and their mother would die. Instead of everyone dying together, it was better to hand them over to the experts of the 2 clans in exchange for the safety of the 2. "It's okay. I can still hold on for the time being. Since I've already saved you, how can I let you fall into danger again?" The woman laughed softly as she spoke. However, there was a hint of urgency in her voice. Clearly, she was under terrifying pressure. While they were talking, the powerful attacks of the 7 people outside descended again, bombarding the light shield outside the woman's body. The light shield was like a huge eggshell, making a cracking sound and was about to collapse completely. Auntie! The three little guys were very nervous and shouted one after another. Auntie, let us out. Du Xiaoba stepped forward and wanted to grab the corner of her clothes, but when his palm passed through the light, he only grabbed nothingness. With the woman's cultivation and Du Xiaoba's strength, he was still unable to get close to her. There was an invisible law protecting her body, making it impossible for others to get close. Auntie, let us out. As long as you and my mother are fine, what we're doing is worth it. Du Xiaohuang raised her eyes and felt the enormous pressure the woman was under. Her eyes were misty and hazy. We are not afraid of death. One day, my father will definitely avenge us. The primordial manticore clan and the eight-headed serpent clan will definitely be uprooted by my father. None of them will be able to escape. Du Xiaolin opened his mouth. Although his voice was young, it was powerful and resonating. These words caused the woman to be slightly stunned. That's right, with his personality, if anyone provoked his family, their fate would definitely be very miserable. If I hand you over, he will definitely hate me again. The woman did not answer the little fellows. She only used an inaudible voice to mutter to herself. Thinking of that purple-robed figure, the woman's mind, which had long been as calm as water, could not help but ripple. Break for me! Just as the woman was lost in thought, an explosive shout rang out. Following that, a huge ray of light shot through the air and struck the light shield around the woman. This time, the light shield, which had already cracked, could no longer withstand the tremendous force of the attack. With a bang, it exploded and turned into runes that filled the sky. At this moment, she and the other 4 people beside her were all exposed to the attacks of the 7 people. Chapter 2783. Die. Outside, the 7 powerhouses shouted and launched a frenzied attack. Every one of them pushed their immortal realm cultivation base to the limit. Heaven and earth trembled, the sky trembled, and the void shook. The terrifying energy caused a series of explosions and directly hit the woman's body. You guys run. At this critical moment, the woman did not have time to think. She waved her hands and cut open the void, throwing Du Xiaoba, Du Xiaolin, Du Xiaohuang, and Ouying Shuang into it so that they could take the opportunity to escape. Then, her body was sent flying by the terrifying energy and smashed into a majestic mountain in the distance. The mountain was smashed into powder, and a large cloud of smoke and dust exploded. Hee, you can't escape. A powerhouse from the Yamada no Orochi clan sneered. His 8 heads opened their mouths and spat out 8 beams of light that hit a certain spot in the void. Then, they saw a black hole appear there. 4 figures fell out of it and landed in front of them. Little Qilin, Supreme Ant Phoenix, oh, and this human with the bloodline of the golden-winged rock. We finally caught them all. A powerhouse from the Chimera Lion clan also flew up and caught the 3 children in his hands. His face was full of smiles, and he was extremely excited. As for Ouying Shuang, she fell directly from the void and smashed a terrifying deep hole in the ground. Our 2 clans didn't lose so many of our clansmen in vain. As long as we can get this little Qilin and the Supreme Ant Phoenix, everything will be worth it. The powerhouse from the Yamada no Orochi clan nodded and said. After knowing the whereabouts of the little Qilin and the other 3, many of their clansmen had died in the woman's hands during the encirclement of the powerhouses from their 2 clans. Otherwise, with the strength of these 4 people, how could they escape from the hands of several true severing powerhouses? That kind of loss was not small for their 2 clans. However, as long as they could get the little Qilin and the Supreme Ant Phoenix, as well as the human with the bloodline of the golden-winged rock, everything would be worth it. The news from the clan told us not to attack for the time being. It seems that there are powerhouses following these people and protecting them. They are afraid that we will cause trouble. However, from the looks of it now, there doesn't seem to be any experts. One of the 4 from the primordial Chimera Lion race asked doubtfully, "Did your clan also send out such news?" The 3 members of the Yamada no Orochi clan were dumbfounded. It turned out that it wasn't just their clansmen who told them to slow down. However, They had managed to capture the mysterious woman and the 4 people from the small world with great difficulty. How could they let them leave so easily? Under such a huge temptation, even if they had to take the risk of being killed by the powerhouses, they still had to take the gamble. However, judging from the current situation, this news seemed to be somewhat false. It was likely that the clan had received incorrect information. Where did that woman come from? She's actually at the immortal realm. If it wasn't for her, our 2 races wouldn't have lost so many people. An elder from the primordial chimeras cast his gaze into the distance. That was the direction that the mysterious woman had shot off in. He gritted his teeth, wanting to grind that woman's bones to dust. I thought of someone. At this time, someone from the Yamata no Orochi tribe spoke. Who? The others all looked at this person, wanting to hear what he had to say. In recent years, a woman has risen rapidly in the Qian Su Jinghua heaven. In just a few decades, she has directly reached the complete truth-severing stage from the complete void-returning stage. This speed is too terrifying. You can't find more than a few people like her in the entire 33 heavens. The eyes on the 8 heads of the Yamata no Orochi tribe's powerhouse shone brightly. He said softly, and the technique that the woman cultivated in back then was the law of light. Therefore, many people in this world call her the goddess of light. This inference is reasonable. However, is that goddess of light really that person? How did she cultivate? How did she advance so quickly? How did she reach the immortal realm? That's unbelievable. Someone from the primordial chimera lion race was shocked and said with a horrified expression. Everyone knew that in the cultivation of living beings, there was a natural chasm between each realm that couldn't be crossed easily. Those profound entrances had blocked countless geniuses outside. On the other hand, that goddess had only spent a few decades to cultivate from the perfected void-returning realm to the immortal realm. That was 3 whole realms. This was simply too terrifying. In the entire 33 heavens, it would be difficult to find more than a few people as terrifying as her. Judging from the cultivation method of that woman just now, it should be her. Someone stepped out and said, her growth is too fast. We can't leave such an enemy alive. It's better to completely eliminate her. The head of an expert from the Yamata no Orochi tribe trembled and shot out 8 beams of dazzling light. The light beams intertwined and formed a huge net that extended into the distance, grabbing a slender body and bringing it back. This body was the mysterious woman who had been sent flying. At this time, the light on her body dispersed, revealing her true appearance. A beautiful face appeared in everyone's sight. Her snow-white hair was like silver strands, and each strand was pure white. On her body, there was an extremely otherworldly temperament, as if she was going to suppress the world until it paled in comparison. However, the woman was seriously injured. Her face was pale, and there was a trace of blood at the corner of her mouth. It added a wisp of sadness to her otherworldly temperament. No matter what kind of goddess she is, let's end it today. If we give her more time to grow, she will be a great threat to our 2 clans. Among the Chimera Lion tribe, a person came in front of the woman, and killing intent immediately burst out. Buzz! A scorpion tail stood up, suffused with a cold light, and suddenly stung down, wanting to directly pierce through the woman's head and disappear her body and primordial spirit at the same time. Auntie! On the side, Du Xiaohuang and Du Xiaolin cried out in alarm, anxiety filling their 2 small faces. As for Du Xiaoba, he was still in a daze. The reason for that was because that woman's appearance overlapped with a certain face in his memory. However, Du Xiaoba couldn't believe that he actually saw this person again after so many years. Swoosh! A ray of light shot out, and the scorpion tail flowed with a metallic luster. In an instant, it landed in front of the woman. When the woman saw this, there was no joy or sorrow in her eyes. She was exceptionally indifferent. She gently closed her eyes, as if waiting for the judgment of fate. The Chimera Lion tribe expert had the intent to kill. As long as the scorpion tail hit her, there would be no chance of survival. She would only have to face the path of death. However, at this moment, a voice suddenly sounded in everyone's ears. It was so sudden that everyone was stunned. If you hurt her, I will make you suffer purgatory torture. You will beg for death. As soon as this voice fell, a dazzling saber light slashed down, directly hitting the scorpion tail of the Chimera Lion tribe expert. This saber light was incomparably terrifying. When it slashed past, it carried a unique fluctuation of laws, disrupting the order of this area. Clang! The sound of metal clashing reverberated. The scorpion tail was instantly cut open by the saber light. The Chimera Lion tribe expert let out a miserable howl from his throat. He quickly retreated. Drops of black blood dripped from the broken scorpion tail, carrying a potent poison that corroded a terrifying black hole in the void. Who is it? Come out. He was furious and opened his mouth to roar. Suddenly being attacked by an expert made him fly into a rage. Could it be that there really is an expert following them and protecting them at all times? In an instant, the rest of the people couldn't help but have this thought in their hearts. Could it be that the news from their clan wasn't wrong? This thought made the hearts of the 7 powerhouses of the 2 clans turn heavy. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Just as they were thinking, one figure after another appeared in the void and stepped out. These figures added up to more than 200. The person in the lead held a large saber in his hand. As the saber light flickered, it released a domineering aura that intimidated people. As for the rest, each of them had a powerful aura. Everyone's cultivation was extremely powerful. Immortal Realm. More than 200 Immortal Realm experts. The experts of the Chimera Lion tribe and the Yamata no Orochi tribe couldn't help but open their eyes wide and murmur in panic. Their bodies began to tremble. Their hearts beat violently, as if something was stuck in their throats. The arrival of these experts made them feel terrified. More than 200 Immortal Realm experts. With such a lineup, not to mention the 7 of them, even if all the people of the 2 tribes worked together, they wouldn't be able to defeat them in one round. In the entire Qian Su Jinghua heaven, there were probably only a handful of forces with more than 200 Immortal Realm experts. Where did these people come from? There are so many experts. The experts of the 2 tribes felt their mouths dry. They were a little confused. They were a little regretful. They regretted that they didn't listen to the orders of their tribes and insisted on dealing with that woman, little Kylan, and the others. In fact, what they didn't know was that the reason why their tribes sent them a message was not because they were afraid that they would provoke people they couldn't afford to offend, but because everything was instructed by Du Xiaofu to prevent these 7 Immortal Realm experts from causing harm to little Kylan and the others. Dad, Uncle Xiaofu, Dad. In the hands of the experts of the 2 tribes, Du Xiaoba, Du Xiaolin, and Du Xiaohuang's eyes trembled. When they saw the purple-robed young man stepping out of the void, they couldn't help but shout in surprise. Wasn't that overbearing young man Du Xiaofu, who had been separated from them for a long time? None of them had expected that at such a critical moment, their biggest reliance would fall from the sky and come to them at this time. Take these 7 people down. Seeing the 7 people of the 2 tribes in a daze, Chu Daoju waved his arm and said to the more than 200 people behind him. Before he finished his words, one figure after another shot out and pounced on the 7 people in an instant. Powerful forces intertwined together, causing the wind and clouds within a radius of thousands of miles to change color. The power of the laws fluctuated like thunder. Under the pressure of this terrible power, the 7 people couldn't resist at all. They directly collapsed to the ground, their legs trembling. Their hands loosened, and Du Xiaolin, Du Xiaohuang, and Du Xiaoba finally regained their freedom and rushed in the direction of Du Xiaofu. Xiaoba, Xiaolin, Xiaoba. Du Xiaofu opened his arms and hugged the 3 little guys in his arms. Looking at the 3 of them, his heart ached. Dad, you finally came to save us. Du Xiaohuang's small mouth flattened, and tears rolled out of her big eyes. She felt very wronged. Little Kylan also buried its head in Du Xiaofu's arms, blinking its big eyes. Du Xiaofu's heart ached, and he almost cried. It's all my fault. I didn't protect you well. He blamed himself incomparably in his heart. If it weren't for his lack of strength, how could he let the 3 little guys suffer such a great disaster? How could he not see how much suffering they had suffered in the days he hadn't seen them? At this time, the 3 of them still had injuries that were not light. Mother, Dad, save Mother. Du Xiaolin pointed down. There was a huge black hole there, and there was a faint aura of living beings in the hole. Tomboy. Du Xiaofu's gaze trembled, and he flew down into the hole. Not long after, he came out with an unconscious woman in his arms. It was Yangshuang. After checking her current state, Du Xiaofu frowned. Yangshuang's primordial spirit was corroded and covered by a black gas. It was very serious. However, there seemed to be a force resisting the black gas, forming the last line of defense to resist the black gas. Suddenly, Du Xiaofu's expression changed, and his gaze turned to the side. He spat out a word, but he didn't follow up. In his line of sight, a woman with snow-white hair had her back to him and was about to leave. It's good that you're here. I should go. The woman turned her head and said to Du Xiaofu, It's been so many years. How have you been? Du Xiaofu was a little unnatural. He put Yangshuang into the ancient, desolate space and softly said to the woman, I'm very good. The woman smiled, and her slender fingers twirled a strand of silver-white hair. Du Xiaofu fell silent. He looked at the woman's snow-white hair, and his heart faintly trembled. This feeling was hard to describe. It wasn't the same as before, but he still felt a little heartache. In the early years of Shenwu world, too many things happened between him and this woman, and they went from being lovers to strangers. Du Xiaofu also heard some legends about this woman. Some people saw her sitting on a mountain peak for more than a month, sometimes crying and sometimes laughing. In the end, in a single night, the woman's hair was as white as snow, and her entire body was covered in divine light. She caused strange phenomena in the world, and black lightning descended, shocking everyone. Finally, she left while laughing loudly. Ever since then, there was no trace of her in Shenwu world. Du Xiaofu didn't think that he would be able to see her again in the 33 heavens. He sighed, and his heart was filled with emotions. This woman was none other than the Grand Princess of the Stone Dragon Empire, with whom he had many conflicts in the past, Chang Sheng'an. When an old friend meets an old friend, how could he be calm? She was still as beautiful as ever. The only change was that her white hair was telling him about the past. This time, I really have to thank you. If it wasn't for you, little Ba and little Lin would have been in danger. Du Xiaofu thought for a while, then let out a long sigh. He walked in front of the woman and sincerely thanked her. No matter what, the past was in the past, and he had already let go of some things. It was just that seeing her today triggered some memories that were buried deep in his heart. You don't need to thank me. In any case, we came from the same world. Since I met you, there was no reason for me to not help. Chang Shengnan's smile was calm, neither happy nor sad. She gathered her courage and raised her bright eyes to look at the purple-robed young man in front of her. On that familiar face, there was clearly a bit more resolute than in the past, and there was a bit more mature charm. At this moment, Chang Shengnan's heart suddenly calmed down. Originally, after meeting Yangshuang and the others, she knew that Du Xiaofu must have also come to the 33 heavens, and she couldn't help but feel shocked. When this purple-robed young man appeared, her heart unconsciously sped up. In the past, she had brought so much harm to him. Not seeing each other should have been the best ending. But now, Chang Shengnan understood that some things should be put down when they should be. And looking at Du Xiaofu's appearance, he also didn't care about it anymore. The only thing that still existed should be the hazy gap between the two of them, which still couldn't be removed. Kid, it's done. Let's retreat. At this moment, Chu Daoju came to Du Xiaofu's side and said to him. Hearing this, Du Xiaofu looked over. He saw that the 7 experts of the Chimera Lion clan and the Yamada Day clan had already been captured by more than 200 Immortal Realm experts. Under the suppression of absolute strength, these 7 people had no chance of surviving. They could only be captured obediently. Prepare to leave Qian Su Jinghua Heaven. The longer we stay in this world, the more dangerous it is. Du Xiaofu nodded and said to Chu Daoju. Then, he turned to look at Chang Shengnan and asked, Where are you staying? Why don't you come with us to the Supreme Changrong Heaven? Du Xiaofu looked at Chang Shengnan, wanting to know her current situation. At the same time, he couldn't help but sigh in his heart. In the past, their strength was almost the same. But now, Cheng Shengnan had reached the immortal realm. She was so terrifying that she left him far behind. But thinking about it, he understood. She should have her own opportunities. Moreover, she must have left Shenwu world long ago and came to the 33 heavens. The cultivation conditions here were much better than in Shenwu world. I'm used to being alone. This Qian Su Jinghua heaven is pretty good. Cheng Shengnan smiled gently and said, with so many of you here, I'm afraid you'll attract the hostility of many creatures in this world. You'd better leave as soon as possible. In the future, we'll still have a chance to meet again. Her body was overflowing with a strong holy aura, like a lotus blooming in a world of ice and snow. She was exceptionally beautiful and moving. You're injured too. Be careful. Seeing this, Du Xiaofu could only nod again and warn her. Chapter 2784. Good. Cheng Shengnan nodded lightly. Her white hair danced in the wind, making her look like an otherworldly fairy. After she finished speaking, she took light steps and walked into the distance. With one step, she was already 100 miles away. With another step, she disappeared into thin air. Goodbye, Annie. Du Xiaoba, Du Xiaolin, and Du Xiaohuang were reluctant to part. They kept waving their little hands in the direction Cheng Shengnan disappeared. Among the three, only Du Xiaoba had seen Cheng Shengnan before and knew what happened between her and Uncle Xiaofu. Looks like there's a story behind this. On the side, Chu Daoju and the others looked at Du Xiaofu. They saw that he was staring blankly at the direction that the woman left. Kid, she's gone. Don't just stand there. Ling Feng stepped forward and patted Du Xiaofu's shoulder with a strange smile. Junior brother Xiaofu, what happened between you and that woman just now? Long San was even more direct. He kept winking at Du Xiaofu, showing an expression that said, you know what I mean. These people were also very curious. They all wanted to know what kind of relationship there was between that woman and their junior brother Du at the same time. They were also very impressed by that woman's strength. They thought that Du Xiaofu was already abnormal enough. But now, it seemed that there was someone even stronger than him among the people from Shenwu world. Senior martial brothers, have you heard of a saying? Du Xiaofu's gaze was distant. He sighed and said, it was as if his heart was filled with endless emotions, lamenting about life. Seeing him reveal such a sad expression, Chu Daoju, Long San, Ling Feng, and the others were all happy. They were even more curious about Du Xiaofu's story. What saying? They were all overjoyed and wanted to know what Du Xiaofu was going to say. They decided to prick up their ears and listen carefully and remember it firmly in their hearts. In the future, they could definitely use this matter to make fun of him. Du Xiaofu thought for a moment, then suddenly lowered his head and sighed. I don't know if you senior brothers have heard of this before, but people who like to gossip all deserve a beating. This sentence caused the few people to widen their eyes, not understanding the meaning behind it. After a long while, they finally realized that this fellow was talking about them. Fuck, brat, are you itching for a beating? How dare you say we're asking for a beating? We do want to gossip, but where did you get the confidence to say that you want to beat us up? Just because of this sentence, we'll beat you up first. The few of them were furious and shouted at Du Xiaofu. They were really a little angry. This kid was really smart. He actually pretended to be disappointed, but in fact, he had dug a hole for them to jump into. Beat him? Chu Daoju scolded with a smile and directly pounced at Du Xiaofu. But how could Du Xiaofu let them do as they wished? He had already rushed into the distance. Chase. Seeing this, the group of people all chased after him. In the void passage, the group of people hurried to the location of the space wormhole, ready to evacuate Qian Su Jinghua Heaven. Du Xiaofu took the three little guys with him. He had already been to the desolate ancient space to check on Ouyang Shuang's current situation. Fortunately, they had captured the 7 immortal realm experts of the primordial chimeras and the 8-headed serpents and planted the blood soul seal in their primordial spirits. Ouyang Shuang's injuries were not serious, and there were signs of improvement. This made Du Xiaofu let out a long sigh of relief. In addition, the ancient emperor of the human clan and the ancient ancestor of the Bifang clan had also been seriously injured in the protective formation of the primordial chimeras. Now, after treatment, they had also woken up. The operation this time was very smooth, but it took a little too long. Long San said softly, "Yes. Anyway, we have achieved our goal. As long as we enter the space wormhole, we can go straight to the supreme Changrong heaven and return to the Yuqing divine kingdom." Ling Feng nodded his head and replied, "After all, we haven't left yet. We can't let down our guard. It will take at least half a month to get to the space wormhole from here. During this period, we must be careful." Chu Daoju was obviously very cautious. He frowned slightly and said, their group of people had come to Qiansu Jinghua Heaven. They were indeed a big target. If they attracted the attention of many clans, it was very likely that they would not be able to walk out of here. Their biggest hope now was that the primordial chimeras and the eight-headed serpents did not leak any information. "You are right. We should be careful." When Long San heard this, he expressed his agreement. "I am very curious. Why are the creatures of Qiansu Jinghua Heaven hostile to the other 32 heavens?" Ling Feng was puzzled and said, in fact, the others also wanted to know the answer to this question. However, they all came from the 3,000 Great Thousand Worlds. They did not know much about the affairs of the 33 heavens. Therefore, they could not know. In the future, there will always be a chance to know, Chu Daoju said. Then he said indifferently, "Let's hurry. In about 4 or 5 days, we will arrive at the location of the space wormhole." At this time, early on, when Du Xiaofu's group parted with Chang Shengnan and was preparing to leave this world, in a certain place in Qiansu Jinghua Heaven, many experts of different clans had gathered together. These clans had all turned into human forms. However, they all retained part of their clan's characteristics. Some had horns on their heads, some had bumps on their foreheads, some had scales on their skin, some had fangs in their mouths, and so on. These people were all filled with powerful auras. They had faintly merged with the surrounding void. Their cultivation was unfathomable. According to the information we received, the Primordial Chimeras clan and the Yamada no Orochi clan had once hunted down a little Kylan, a supreme ant phoenix, and 2 other humans. We also heard that the 2 clans were really lucky to be able to find the little Kylan and the supreme ant phoenix. In addition, we heard that one of the 2 humans had the bloodline of the golden-winged Great Rock. He was also extraordinary. However, it seems that more human experts have appeared recently. A few days ago, the Primordial Chimeras clan and the Yamada no Orochi clan had sent a message to the outside world. They said that they had encountered a crisis. Some human experts had killed their way into their clans, and they could not resist at all. However, when we arrived later, the 2 clans had changed their words. This is very strange. They clearly asked us for help, but in the end, they denied it. They only said that those humans had failed to find the little Kylan and the others, so they left directly. Looking at the 2 clans, it seems that they have not experienced any great calamity. Almost all of those experts are still alive. Only the chief of the Primordial Chimeras clan has died. Presumably, those humans know that our world does not welcome them. That's why they did not make a big fuss. No, this matter is very strange. There must be some key point that we haven't grasped. Many people were discussing animatedly. They were very puzzled by this matter. Many people had noticed that there was something strange about this matter. However, no one could figure out why the Primordial Chimeras clan and the Yamada no Orochi clan would change their orders constantly. Everyone present did not believe that the 2 clans had chased after the little Kylan and the others. Moreover, those humans had killed their way to their door and left directly without doing anything. "I've received the latest news." Right at this moment, an old man spoke. This old man's appearance was very strange. He had a nose that was almost 1 meter long, and he seemed to be an elephant. As soon as he spoke, everyone shot their gazes over and heard him say, the Primordial Chimeras clan and the Yamada no Orochi clan had joined forces to pursue the little Kylan and the others. In the end, they were rescued by a mysterious woman. Later on, the experts of the 2 clans caught up to them and successfully intercepted them. However, in the end, over 200 humans from the outside world appeared in time and captured the 2 clans. The little Kylan and the supreme ant phoenix were safely taken away by them as well. They actually rescued the little Kylan, the supreme ant phoenix, and the others. All the people present here were extremely astounded when they heard this, and they said to themselves, "Those humans really are formidable." "Yes, I received this news as well." An old man at the side whose eyes emanated green light spoke with certainty. This person's eyes were like sharp blades that carried a deep sense of acuity. Being glanced at by him was like being stared at by a terrifying, enormous wolf, and it caused one's heart to go cold for no reason. All right, if the primordial Chimera's clan and the Yamata no Orochi clan had succeeded in capturing the Little Kylan and the Supreme Ant Phoenix, then it would be difficult for us to make a move against them. Now that they've failed, are all of you interested in joining forces to capture all of them and seize the Little Kylan and the Supreme Ant Phoenix? Suddenly, an expert looked towards the surroundings with a burning gaze, and he used his gaze to ask for everyone's opinion. My 8-wing lightning hawk clan is willing to do this. Someone immediately agreed to this suggestion. The others glanced at each other and started to fall into deep thought as they weighed the pros and cons. No matter what, the bloodlines of a Little Kylan and a Supreme Ant Phoenix are sufficiently extraordinary. Coupled with a human who possesses the bloodline of the Golden-Winged Rock clan, it's truly an extremely great benefit that can't be missed. Even though our clans are formidable, we're far from being ranked as the strongest clans. So long as we're able to obtain the bloodlines of those people, it's sufficient to allow a few supreme experts to appear in our clans. Someone muttered and spoke like this. The experts of our close to 20 clans can be gathered together to form close to 400 people, and it's absolutely sufficient to encircle and annihilate those humans. Some people thought in their hearts and started to weigh the gap in strength between the two sides, and they felt that the chances of success were extremely great. In this way, many people were tempted. My Flame Demon Elephant clan has the same intention. My Heaven-Devouring Demonic Wolf clan feels that it's feasible. My Nether Lightning Black Turtle clan is willing. My Crimson-Eyed Demon Fox clan has no problem as well. In an instant, the experts of many clans expressed their agreement and spoke one after another. Those humans should be on their way to the spatial wormhole right now. Let's go and intercept them quickly. It's absolutely too late. Someone among the experts said, "Act quickly, send a message to your clans, and summon all the experts that can be deployed." Ha ha ha. A group of humans also wants to take the Little Kylan and the others from this world. What do they think our Qian Su Jing Hua Heaven is? A place where they can come and go as they please. Let's go. This time, not only that Little Kylan and the Supreme Ant Phoenix, but those humans will also have to stay behind. No matter what power is behind them, they'll definitely suffer a great loss this time. These experts were excited and howling. One by one, they rushed out and headed for the spatial wormhole. They had great confidence. After all, this was the Qian Su Jing Hua Heaven, not some other world. How could they allow the humans from the outside world to do as they pleased? On the other side, Du Xiaofu and the others had more than half of their journey, but the closer they got to the spatial wormhole, the more cautious everyone became. "I keep feeling that this journey won't be too smooth," Long San said with a frown. "I also have a feeling that our whereabouts should have been exposed." Ling Feng spoke with a similarly worried tone. "Be alert. Be ready to deal with any accidents at any time." Chu Daoju shouted coldly and said to the 200 people around him. Du Xiaofu squinted his eyes. No one knew what he was thinking. After a long while, he took out the formation plate of the Divine Baron Heavenlock formation and handed it to Chu Daoju, saying, "Senior Brother Chu, this Divine Baron Heavenlock formation is temporarily under your control. I've already erased the primordial spirit imprint inside. If there's an accident, activate the formation at once." Okay. Chu Daoju nodded straightforwardly. Without being pretentious at all, he reached out his hand and took it. Everyone felt a little uneasy in their hearts. At this time, Du Xiaofu naturally didn't dare to be careless. With regards to Chu Daoju, he was very assured. In addition, the Divine Wilderness Heavenlock formation was originally an item owned by an immortal expert of the Absolute Spirit Holy Land. Its power was immeasurable. Only in the hands of an even stronger expert could its true effect be maximized. "Boy, you don't have to worry about anything." Suddenly, Ling Feng went to Du Xiaofu's side and patted his shoulder, saying, We've been roaming the 3,000 boundless worlds for countless years. Although I don't dare to say that we're invincible, we're not easy to deal with either. Some of the formations of this Qian, Su Jinghua heaven won't scare us." He smiled and gave Du Xiaofu a reassuring look. "I know." Du Xiaofu nodded. He naturally knew that these people were very extraordinary. Otherwise, they wouldn't have such achievements. However, they were now in the Qian Su Jinghua heaven. If many races joined forces to besiege them, the situation they faced would definitely be terrible. If it was only Du Xiaofu alone, he wouldn't be afraid of anything. However, these people were all here to help him. He didn't want to see anyone die here. Seeing Du Xiaofu's expression, Long San on one side also came in front of him and said, "Actually, I also want to see how strong the creatures of this Qian Su Jinghua heaven are." Just as he said these words, a loud boom was heard. The entire space passage was broken into pieces. Under the impact of the terrifying energy, the void disintegrated piece by piece. Everyone's figures were also separated from the passage. Under the impact of the violent energy, everyone was brought to the sky above a huge city. "Crow's beak, as you wish." Chu Daoju rolled his eyes at Long San and scolded. Such an unforeseen event naturally meant that someone had attacked the void passage and forced them to show themselves. But the space passage constructed successfully by the immortal realm experts was broken. Obviously, the intruder was very strong. Someone really came. Du Xiaofu said to himself with a dignified look in his eyes. The less trouble, the better. Originally, he didn't want to have too much contact with the creatures of this world. He only wanted to take the little Kylan and the others away. He didn't want to cause too much trouble here. Even the 7 experts of the Chimera Lion clan and the Yamada no Orochi clan that he had captured in the end were set free by him after he had planted the Blood Soul seal on them. Now, his strength was not strong enough. If he were to go against the whole world, he would be overestimating himself. Even if he had the support of more than 200 Immortal Realm experts, it was still not enough. Ha ha ha. Human, hand over the little Kylan, the supreme Ant Phoenix and the boy with the bloodline of the Golden-Winged Rock clan, and we'll let you go. At this time, a voice rang out in the sky. It was faintly discernible and spread over thousands of miles. Du Xiaofu looked over and saw many huge goshawks hovering in the sky. They were sometimes visible, and it was hard to find them. These goshawks all had 8 pairs of wings. They were extremely fast, flying as fast as lightning. The loud voice came from the mouth of one of the giant eagles. In addition to these giant goshawks, there were many figures in the distance. They tore the space apart and flew toward Du Xiaofu and the others. The Fire Demonic Elephant Clan, the Sky-Swallowing Demonic Wolf Clan, the 8-Winged Thunder Eagle Clan, the Infernal Thunder Black Turtle Clan, the Red-Eyed Demonic Fox Clan. Looking at the situation in the sky and in the distance, Chu Daoju's eyes flashed as he murmured, "More than 100 of them, and they're all in the immortal realm." Du Xiaofu glanced over and immediately took in the situation. He estimated the number of people on the other side. The result made him heave a sigh of relief. Although the formation of more than 100 immortal realm experts was strong enough, it was only half of his team. Therefore, he didn't have to worry about anything. Below Du Xiaofu and the others, the huge city instantly became lively. The movement in the sky attracted the attention of countless experts of the Beast Clan. Many people looked up at the sky. Are those humans? There are more than 200 of them, and they are all in the immortal realm. How dare they appear in the Qian Su Jinghua heaven with great fanfare? They are simply courting death. Very few experts from the outside world dare to come to this world, let alone so many of them gathered together. They are really bold. Aren't they afraid that they will all die here? Some experts have come to kill them. It seems that many clans have joined hands. Let's watch the show first. Looking at the current situation, those humans have an absolute advantage in terms of numbers. When the Fire Demonic Elephant Clan and the others are really no match for them, it will be too late for us to take action. Many people spoke one after another. They were all surprised by the sudden appearance of the human experts and those from the Beast Clan.